Everything was dark and cold. I could feel my body growing weaker with every passing moment. The pain was unbearable. I was giving birth in our rundown house at the foot of the mountain, in the dead of winter. The midwife, Wang Pe, kept yelling at me to push harder. She said she could see the baby's head, but it had been stuck too long. I screamed that I had no strength left. My little daughter, Sanya, was crying beside me, begging me not to scare her. Then my mother-in-law's sharp voice cut through everything. She cursed and said if I couldn't even give birth properly, I might as well die. She said it would save everyone trouble, especially since my husband was already dead. That morning, officials had come to our village to deliver the news. My husband had died on the battlefield. The shock of it must have triggered my early labor. Somehow, I managed to push through. The baby came out, a girl. Sanya screamed with joy that I'd given birth. But my mother-in-law, that wretched woman Lai Guang, just sneered and called my newborn daughter another money-losing burden. I thought the worst was over. But then something went terribly wrong. Blood started pouring out of me, and it wouldn't stop. I heard the midwife run out in a panic, shouting that I was hemorrhaging and wouldn't make it. I felt my life slipping away. The last thing I saw was a dark corner of that cold, damp room. My eyes stayed wide open, but I couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't breathe anymore. Outside, I could hear everything as if from far away. My poor Sanya chased after the midwife, grabbing her leg, begging her to save me. That cruel woman kicked my daughter off and sent her flying. Sanya hit the ground hard but kept crying, insisting I wasn't dead. My mother-in-law didn't waste a single moment grieving. She snatched the midwife's payment, a handful of copper coins, and her eyes lit up with greed. Then she ordered my brothers-in-law, Qin Bingsheng and Qin Bingchun, to carry my body up the mountain and bury me right away, like I was garbage to be thrown out. My two sons, Qin Zheng and Qin Shuang, stood by the bed with red eyes, confused and helpless. Qin Shuang pushed my shoulder and called for me, his voice trembling. These boys, they'd lost their father in the morning, and now their mother in the afternoon. They were orphans now. My newborn baby lay beside me wrapped in old rags, tiny as a little mouse, her face swollen and pale from the birth. She was crying desperately, and nobody was comforting her. My brothers-in-law rolled me up in the straw mat and tried to carry me out. My sons blocked their way. Sanya ran back inside and grabbed Qin Bingchun's leg, screaming that I wasn't dead yet. But my sister-in-law, Shi Zhenxiang, dragged her away. When Sanya begged my mother-in-law for help, that old witch slapped her across the face, twice, so hard the little girl stumbled into Qin Bingchun and knocked my body to the ground. I lay there on the cold dirt, my eyes still wide open, staring straight ahead. Even my mother-in-law felt a chill looking at me. She told my corpse not to blame her for being heartless, that it was the baby's fault for being a debt-collecting demon who came to take my life. She promised she'd burn spirit money for me and told me to go as far away as possible. Sanya threw herself on top of me, sobbing until her voice broke. Nobody noticed it. Not a single one of them saw my eyes suddenly blink, as if my soul had just returned to my body.
Pain.
That was the first thing I felt, pain everywhere like my whole body had been torn apart, especially below my belly. I had no strength at all. Then a baby's cry pierced through the fog, and suddenly my head felt like needles were being stabbed into it. A flood of memories rushed in, memories that weren't mine.
Holy crap.
I had transmigrated. My real name is Lu Kaiping. I'm 28 years old, a single-career woman who never even had time for a boyfriend. I'd spent 3 straight days and nights at the office working on an advertising proposal. I finally finished something I was proud of, but I was so exhausted I fell asleep at my desk before saving the file. My competitor copied my work and submitted it to the boss first. When the meeting came, everyone thought I was the thief. I confronted the guy, got so furious my blood pressure shot through the roof, and I dropped dead right there on the office floor. And now here I was, inside the body of another Lu Kaiping, same name, in some fictional ancient dynasty. This Lu Kaiping was 34, from Dahika village in Huangmei County, Tongzhou. She'd been 7 months pregnant with her 4th child. That morning, Officials came to report that her husband Chen Bingnan had died in battle. The grief sent her into premature labor. She gave birth to a baby girl, then hemorrhaged and died. That's when I took over this disaster of a life. As the original woman's memories settled into my brain, I started piecing together the family situation, and it was ugly. Her husband Chen Bingnan was the eldest son, but not his mother's biological child. His mother-in-law, Lai Guiying, had bought him as a baby for 2 silver taels, hoping that adopting a child would help her conceive. It actually worked. After Bingnan turned 2, the old had got pregnant and kept popping out kids. 2 more sons and 2 daughters. Once she had her own children, Bingnan became nothing more than a slave. He was doing household chores by age 4, farming, raising his younger siblings, getting beaten and starved. His brothers and sisters knew he wasn't blood-related and treated him like dirt, calling him a bastard and bossing him around. And Bingnan just took it all without a word, like an old ox that only knew how to work. He once saved the original Lu Kaiping from drowning, but because he'd held her body during the rescue, people called her loose. No one would marry her after that. Her own parents said she'd lost her virtue. Her brother and sister-in-law mocked her constantly. She couldn't stay home anymore. That old witch Lai Guiying saw her chance, a free labor. She sent a matchmaker and pressured the family until Lu Kaiping married into the Chen household without the Chens paying a single coin. After the wedding, life only got worse. The original Lu Kaiping was bullied by her mother-in-law and sisters-in-law every single day. She took out her frustration on her own children, hitting and scolding them constantly. The second brother, Chen Bingsheng, married Shi Zhenxiang, the mother-in-law's distant niece. That woman was built like a bull and had a tongue sharp enough to cut bone. She had 3 kids. Her eldest son Chen Qing was 12 and studying at the village school. One teacher called him clever, and suddenly the whole family acted like he was destined to become a top scholar. Every resource went to him, the best food, no chores, nothing. The third brother, Chen Bingchun, married Ma Lianhua. That woman looked harmless on the surface, but was rotten inside, a classic backstabber. She'd pretend to be friendly to Lu Caiping's face, while poisoning the mother-in-law's ears with lies behind her back. She had a daughter and a son. The fourth sibling, Chen Feng, was actually decent, quiet, and honest. The mother-in-law didn't like her much and married her off to another village. She had 2 daughters. The fifth, Chening, was a carbon copy of her mother, sharp-tongued and nasty. She knew how to sweet-talk the old woman, so she was the favorite. She'd been married 4 years with no children. The family had 6 acres of farmland, and almost all the work fell on Bingnan's family. The second and third households were lazy freeloaders. With nearly 15 mouths to feed and taxes to pay, there was barely enough grain. They had to forage wild vegetables just to stretch the porridge, and even then, the other families got thicker portions while Bingnan's family got watery slop. My children in this body, I had 3, now 4. Chen Zheng, the eldest, 14, was just like his father. Quiet, obedient, hardworking. Chen Shuang, 12, was the rebellious one, always butting heads with his mother. Chen Sanya, 11, clung to her mother no matter how badly she was treated, always crawling back hoping for a scrap of affection. And then there was the newborn, the baby girl I'd just given birth to. When conscription came around earlier this year, the old man Chen Quan obviously wouldn't send his own precious sons. So Bingnan got shipped off to war. The night before he left, he got Lu Kaiping pregnant one last time. And now he was dead. I groaned inside. What kind of hellish starting hand was this? I used to be a career woman clawing my way up in the modern world, and now I was a mother of 4 in some ancient backwater, penniless, starving, bullied by in-laws, with a dead husband and a body wrecked from childbirth. A baby's weak crying pulled me back to reality, my newborn. That demon Lai Guiying was screaming at the brothers to hurry up and haul my corpse up the mountain. Then she snatched the baby from Chen Zheng's arms, cursing about how this child was a jinx who killed her own mother. She looked over at old man Chen Quan and asked what they should do about the baby. That heartless old man didn't even blink. Strangle her, he said, flat, as if he were talking about squashing an ant. Bury her with her mother, The old witch's face actually brightened at that. She agreed immediately, then stared down at the tiny creature in her hands, barely bigger than a mouse, and told the baby not to blame her, that she was doing her a kindness by sending her to find her parents. Then she reached for the baby's throat. Chun Jung lunged forward. "Grandma, stop. Give me back my sister." Lai Guiying glared at him with murder in her eyes. She told him to kneel, told him the baby was too small and premature, that without breast milk she'd die anyway. She said she was being merciful. Chun Jung's shoulders slumped. He was just 14. His father was dead, his mother was dead, and he couldn't even protect his baby sister. The helplessness was crushing him. The baby seemed to sense the danger. She burst into desperate, wailing cries. Something in Chun Jung snapped. He raised his head, and there was a fire in his eyes, stubborn, defiant, unbreakable. He was the eldest brother, only 14, but with both parents gone, he had to step up. Chun Jung straightened his back and begged his grandmother. "Grandma, I'll eat less. Please let my sister live." That old witch Lai Guiying exploded with rage. She said the baby was too small, born too early, looked like a mouse, and they had no extra food. She said letting the baby join her dead parents was doing everyone a favor. But Chun Jung stood his ground. His fists were clenched, and he looked her straight in the eye. His voice shook, but he didn't back down. "Grandma, I'll obey you in everything else. But she's your granddaughter, not some stray cat or dog. She's a human life." The old hag was stunned. This boy who'd always been quiet as a stone was suddenly ready to fight. She quickly called her sons for backup. Second. Third. Chen Bingxing narrowed his beady eyes and threatened to kill Chun Jung if he dared raise a hand. But Jung just glanced at him coldly and said, "We'll see who dies." That sent a shiver down Bingxing's spine. The kid was tall, strong from years of farm work, and Bingxing knew deep down he was all bark and no bite. The tension was thick enough to cut. Then Chen Shuang tugged his brother's sleeve and shook his head slightly. He wasn't scared. He was being smart. The baby was still in Grandma's hands, tiny enough to fit in her palm. If a fight broke out, she could snap that baby's neck in a heartbeat. Zheng understood. He unclenched his fists. Bingxing let out a secret sigh of relief and covered it with a sneer. "I'm sparing you because your parents just died." Bingchun piled on. "Your parents are dead. Behave, and you'll still get fed. But that short-lived sister of yours has to go. Blame her for being born at the wrong time." The two brothers turned back toward my body, ready to roll me up and carry me away. Sanya threw herself on the ground and slammed her forehead into the dirt, kowtowing to the old woman. "Grandma, Big Brother is right. Each of us will eat one bite less. Please let the baby live." Lai Guiying snarled that if Sanya said another word, she'd be thrown out too. The only reason she kept Sanya around was because the girl could do chores and would fetch a bride price in a few years. Some villagers were watching from the wall, and one shouted in, "Old Lai, your eldest son left behind pension money from the army. Surely you can afford to raise one granddaughter." Another whispered loud enough for everyone to hear, "That money's going straight to her precious grandson's school fees." The old witch screamed back at them, "If you're such good people, take the brat yourselves. Otherwise shut your mouths." Nobody volunteered. Every family had 3 or 4 kids of their own, and barely enough grain. People muttered among themselves, "That old woman is truly evil. The baby is doomed. She killed her own mother being born. If they don't get rid of her, who'll she curse next?" I heard every single word. Every filthy, heartless thing they said poured into my ears like poison. I couldn't take it anymore.
I said but doppelts.
I fixed my eyes on Lai Guiying with a stare cold enough to freeze hell, and my voice came out like a blade. "Anyone who touches her, try me. I dare you." Bingsheng and Bingchun had been about to roll my body in a straw mat, when I suddenly shot up, drenched in blood with my eyes wide open. Their faces went white as paper. They flew backward and screamed like children. She's risen from the dead." The villagers on the wall nearly fell off. They just watched me lying there motionless, covered in blood, completely lifeless. Now I was sitting up and glaring. They started babbling in terror. The Chun family's eldest daughter-in-law came back from the dead. She must have seen the old woman trying to kill her baby. That's why she came back. I swept my gaze across those faces on the wall. Their smiles froze. They weren't scared, though. They were excited. Watching this family's misery was entertainment to them. It made my blood run cold. Not one of them had come inside to stop an old woman from strangling a newborn. They just watched like it was a show. But then again, I understood why. This family's reputation in the village was rock bottom. My mother-in-law, Lai Guiying, was the village menace. She'd borrow things and deny it, steal food right out of people's pots, snatch snacks from children's hands. Anyone who tried to stand up for my husband got cursed out so viciously she dragged their ancestors through the mud. Eventually, people just stopped getting involved. Shi Jinxiang and Ma Lianhua, those two cowardly snakes, grabbed their kids and scrambled into their rooms the moment I sat up. Mama, Sanya's face lit up with joy. Big brother. Second brother. Mama's not dead. Qinzheng was stunned. He'd checked my breathing himself. There was none. How was I sitting up? Was this really what everyone was saying, a corpse coming back for revenge? Shuang grabbed Sanya's arm before she could run to me. Don't go near her. That's not our mother. Mom is dead. If you go to her, she'll take you away. He'd heard old village women say that if someone dies unwilling, their spirit comes back within the first hour to drag someone along. I glanced at that brat and decided to have a little fun. I put on my creepiest voice. Smart boy.
You're right.
You're mama's good son. I came back just for you, so I'd have company on the other side. Sanya panicked and threw herself in front of Shuang, sobbing. Mama, please. You can't take second brother. This girl was too easy to fool. Looking at her, skin yellow, bones showing, pitiful as a stray kitten, my heart softened immediately. I dropped the act.
Relax.
If I'm taking anyone, it's your grandma. Lai Guiying's face went pale. Her voice cracked. What are you? Are you human or a ghost? Mother-in-law, have you really forgotten your own daughter-in-law? It's me, your wonderful eldest son's wife. Are you human or ghost? The old witch was shaking. What do you think? I gave her my brightest smile, but I could tell it was creeping her out. She kept staring at me like she was seeing a stranger. And she was right. The old Lu Kaiping was a doormat who never talked back. But that woman was gone. I was here now. I tried to stand, and Lai Guiying screamed at me not to come closer. I snapped back. Give me my daughter. Old man Chen Quan glared at his wife and told her to just hand over the baby. His reasoning was cold as ice. The child's cries were getting weaker anyway. She'd probably die on her own. No need to dirty their hands strangling her. That heartless hag didn't even have the guts to bring the baby to me. She just dropped her on the frozen ground like a piece of trash. Damn her. It was the dead of winter, and my newborn was wrapped in nothing but a thin rag, lying on ice-cold dirt. Shuang, go get your sister. Now. Why me? The brat shot back. I narrowed my eyes and gave him a look that could freeze fire. Are you going or not? Qinjing started moving toward the baby, but I stopped him. Stay put, Zheng. Let your brother do it. I knew exactly why Shuang was like this. From the original Lu Siping's memories, I understood everything. Whenever his cousins bullied Sanya, Shuang would fight them to protect her. But every single time, the original mother would force him to apologize because she was too scared to confront the other families. It was never his fault, but he always got punished. After years of that, the boy stopped trusting his mother entirely. He figured every other aunt protected their kids. Why didn't his own mother protect him?
I was going to change that.
I needed this boy to know I wasn't the same person anymore. I would be fair, I would have backbone, and most importantly, I would protect my own. Shuang brought me the baby, reluctantly. I looked down at my newborn daughter and almost winced. She was tiny as a baby mouse, with dried mucus stuck to her face. She looked absolutely pitiful. This kid was ugly. Were all newborns this ugly? The original Lu Siping's memories of her other births were fuzzy, so I had no idea. The baby's cries were getting fainter, her face turning white. I pulled the thin cloth tighter around her. She was starving, but my milk hadn't come in yet, and I was starving too. My body was wrecked from the delivery. I needed food, something warm and nourishing, or neither of us would make it. I remembered how back in my real life, my mother used to make egg soup for my sister-in-law after she gave birth. Mother-in-law, if I'm not mistaken, there are still eggs in the house. Make me some egg soup. You really aren't dead. I rolled my eyes. Obviously, I'm not dead. You're the one who's dead. I just gave birth. Hurry up and make me egg soup. I was done being the old Lu Kaiping. New soul, new rules. Zheng, help me up and back to the room. Mother-in-law, bring the egg soup when it's ready. Lai Guiying actually started to obey. She was so rattled she turned around automatically. But old man Chen Quan's voice cracked like a whip. Woman, have you lost your mind? Those eggs aren't for her. That snapped the old witch back to her senses. She spun around and pointed at me, furious. You think you deserve eggs? Dream on. Then Shizhenxiang, that vulture from the second household, came strutting out. She'd been hiding in her room when she thought I was a ghost, but now that she knew I was alive, she wasn't scared anymore, especially when her precious eggs were at stake. Sister-in-law, have you lost your mind? Everyone knows the eggs are for our Chin-Chin. The whole family's future rests on his shoulders. He's going to be a top scholar someday. You just popped out another useless girl, and you want eggs? Forget it. I laughed coldly. Second sister-in-law, you must be dreaming if you think that boy is becoming a top scholar. Your Chin-Chin just started learning his first characters. He can't even aim his pea in the right direction, and you're already picturing him as a government official? Why don't you fly to the moon while you're at it? Then I turned back to the old woman.
Fine. No eggs?
Then let's talk money. My husband is dead. The government sent 10 taels of silver this morning as a death pension. That money is for his family, meaning me and his children. I'm not even being greedy. Let's split it fairly, 5 taels for you, 5 for me. Lai Guiying nearly hit the ceiling. You've lost your mind. 5 taels? I raised that boy from nothing. And who's been feeding and clothing your family all these years? You dare ask me for money? Interesting how she suddenly remembered raising my husband when there was money involved. Never mind that every grain of rice this family ate was planted, harvested, and carried home by our branch. Never mind that every meal was cooked by my 11-year-old Sanya while the second and third households just sat on their backsides waiting to be served. Even a porridge, ours was always thin as water while theirs was thick. I wasn't the old Lu Kaiping. I wasn't going to swallow this quietly. I had Chinzheng help me out to the courtyard. I sat down on the ground, held my baby, and started wailing at the top of my lungs for the whole village to hear. Heavens above, my life is so bitter. The draft lottery picked the second brother for military service, but because my husband wasn't mother-in-law's real son, she forced him to go instead. Now my husband is dead on the battlefield. The government sent pension money, and I haven't seen a single coin. I just gave birth, and my mother-in-law tried to strangle my baby. I nearly died in childbirth, and they won't even let me eat one egg, ever since I married into this family. My household has done all the work while the second and third families sit around and eat. Everybody, come judge for yourselves. Look at what kind of people this Chin family really is. For the sake of us, a widow and her orphans, please go fetch the village chief. Let him come and give us justice. I paused for dramatic effect, then added the finishing blow. And if I don't survive this, don't think this village will have any peace. Even if I die, my ghost will haunt every last one of you, following you around day and night. I cried and wailed with everything I had, tears and snot streaming down my face. Then I shot a look at my kids and winked. Shuang caught on immediately. That boy was sharp. He burst into loud, dramatic sobbing right alongside me. Zheng and Sanya just stood there confused. Since when did Shuang, the one who always fought with his mother, suddenly take her side? I hissed at them under my breath. What are you two standing around for?
Cry.
The louder the better. We need to make this as big as possible. The bigger the scene, the more people will come to back us up. Sanya understood and started crying for real. She wasn't faking. My words reminded her of her father. He'd always been kind to her, calling her his little Sanyo, always letting her eat first before anyone else, even before her brothers. Hearing his sister's heartbroken sobs, Zheng's eyes reddened too, and he quietly wiped away tears. It was the dead of winter, and most people were huddled around their fires at home. But our wailing carried through the cold air, and one by one, villagers started coming out of their houses. Everyone around here knew exactly what kind of person Lai Guiying was. They'd watched how our family was treated for years. The crowd at the gate grew bigger and bigger, and people couldn't help running their mouths. That old hag is unbelievable. Chen Bingnan was like an ox, worked himself to death for the family while he was alive, and even dead, he's still earning the money. The least they could do is let his wife and kids eat a decent meal. They swallowed his pension and won't even give the woman an egg after childbirth. They sucked that man dry to the bone and didn't even spit out the scraps. Heartless. If you ask me, the real villain is old man Chen Quan. If he didn't enable that woman, she'd never dare act this way. The whole village was on my side now. Every voice was condemning Lai Guiying and the old man. I cried even harder. The more support I got, the louder I wailed. My children cried with me, and we made quite the pitiful picture. Even Lai Guiying's thick skin couldn't withstand this. Old man Chen Quan's face was burning. He turned on her and hissed, "Look what you've done, you stupid woman." This could have been settled with one egg, and now the entire village knows. Think about Qing's future. He needs to pass the imperial exams. You want to ruin his reputation. The old witch fired right back. You old fool. You're the one who said not to give her eggs. Now you're blaming me? Chen Quan's face went purple. He hadn't expected her to throw him under the cart in front of everyone. He growled through clenched teeth. Stop standing there like idiots. Get her back inside before we lose any more face. Lai Guiying finally figured out what I was doing. I was stalling, waiting for the village chief to arrive so I could demand the pension money in front of witnesses. She couldn't let that happen. She softened her expression and told the brothers to help me up. But Bingsheng and Bingchun exchanged a look. Manhandling a widow and her babies in front of the whole village wasn't a good look. They pushed their wives forward instead. Ma Lianhua and Shi Zhenxiang walked over with fake smiles plastered on their faces. Sister-in-law, it's just an egg. Come on, let's go inside. We'll cook it for you ourselves. I didn't move an inch. Touch me and see what happens. You think I don't know your plan? You want to drag me inside, close the gate, and deal with me behind closed doors. Shi Zhenxiang forced a smile so stiff it looked like she was in pain. Sister-in-law, what are you saying? We're all family here. I laughed coldly. Family? Funny word. We're family now, but when it's time to eat, how come your porridge is thick and ours is water? When it's time to work the fields, where are you? Every acre is farmed by our household alone. You bully us because my husband wasn't mother-in-law's real son. Now he's dead, and you've swallowed his pension money whole. I nearly died giving birth, and the first thing you wanted to do was strangle my baby. Then you tried to roll me up in a mat and bury me on the mountain before I was even cold. If I hadn't woken up in time, who knows where you'd have dumped me. I walked through death's door and back, and you won't even spare me one egg. And you call us family? I sobbed and accused. Every word hit its mark. The crowd erupted. The second and third households are nothing but parasites. Look how fat and healthy they are while the eldest family is skin and bones. That pension money should go to the eldest family. At the very least, half of it. Old man Chen Quan and Lai Guiying were nearly coughing blood from rage. They screamed at their sons to get us back inside. Shi Zhenxiang and Ma Lianhua tried to yank me up, but I planted myself on that ground like a stone mill. They couldn't budge me. Chun Jing stepped in front of me, his young face dead serious. Second uncle, third uncle, don't you dare touch my mother. Get out of the way or don't blame us for what happens, they threatened. The villagers shook their heads in disgust. Look at that, the whole pack of them ganging up on a widow and her orphans. They're not even pretending anymore. Then, just when things were about to boil over, someone shouted from the back of the crowd. The village chief is here. The village chief is coming. A dark-skinned, serious-looking old man walked through the crowd. That was Peng Tong, the chief of Dahiku village. The moment the village chief walked in, I cranked up the crying to full volume. My kids followed my lead. Village Chief Peng Tong had a stern face and an air of authority. Everyone stopped crying. What's going on here? Village Chief, you have to help us, I sobbed, launching into the whole story again. My husband forced to serve in the army instead of the second brother, killed in battle, the pension money stolen by my in-laws, my baby nearly strangled, me almost buried alive, and not even one egg after childbirth. The chief knew our family's situation. He'd personally brought the officials to our door that morning to deliver the death notice. He turned to old man Chen Quan. Brother Chen, this isn't right. Your eldest son isn't even cold in his grave, and you're treating his wife and children like this? He'd never rest in peace, knowing what happened today. And a woman who just gave birth needs nutrition. You've got hens laying eggs, don't you? For a second I thought the chief was fully on my side. But then he added, now, Chun Zheng's mother, you're all one family. Your mother-in-law runs the household, so naturally the pension money goes to her. Of course. The village chief was playing both sides, typical peacemaker, not wanting to offend anyone. Useless.
Fine.
Time to drop the real bomb. Village chief, I asked you here today as a witness. If my mother-in-law refuses to give me the pension money, then I want to split the family. I want a separation. Dead silence. Then the whole crowd erupted. Even Zhang and Shuang stared at me like I'd lost my mind. The old Lu Kaiping had never dared suggest such a thing. Shuang had mentioned it once, and she'd screamed him into the ground. Lai Guiying jumped up like someone had lit a fire under her. Her eyes nearly popped out of her skull. Absolutely not. No money, and no separation. Forget it. I knew exactly why she refused. My kids were practically free labor. Zheng alone could outwork both his uncles combined in the fields. Sanya cooked every meal. If we split off, who would do the work? Certainly not her precious biological grandchildren. And Sanya was almost old enough to be married off for a bride price. The old hag wasn't about to lose that investment. The village chief tried to reason with me. Chun Zheng's mother. Think about this carefully. You just gave birth. Your body hasn't recovered. These children are still young. Where would you live? What would you eat? You'd have nothing. And think about your newborn. If you split off now, you can't even feed yourselves. Then he added something meaningful. Even if you're going to split, now isn't the time. I paused. As much as I hated to admit it, the old man had a point. My body was wrecked. I had a premature baby who needed breast milk, which I couldn't produce without proper food. Right now, even watery porridge was better than nothing. If I stormed out with 4 kids and no resources, we'd starve before the week was over. This family had to be split, that was certain. But today wasn't the day. The chief saw I'd gone quiet and jumped on the opening. He turned to Lai Guiying. Go make your daughter-in-law some egg soup. Now, I seized the moment. Mother-in-law, I'll drop the separation talk for now. But you have to guarantee me eggs every single day during my recovery month. The old witch exploded. You think you can push your luck? 1 egg is already generous. You want eggs every day. Then we split the family. Or give me the pension money. Pick one. Fine. Eggs it is. Old man Chen Quan cut in. He'd done the math in his head. Eggs were cheaper than giving up the pension money or losing his free labors. He figured he'd agree now and go back on his word later. After all, the old Lu Kaiping was easy to push around. He assumed this sudden backbone was just grief talking, and she'd go back to being a doormat soon enough. What he didn't know was that the old Lu Kaiping was gone forever. Shi Zhenxiang panicked immediately. Father, those eggs are for our Qin Qing. Shut your mouth. The old man glared her into silence. He'd just barely calmed things down and wasn't about to let the second daughter-in-law ruin it. Lai Guiying grudgingly went to her room, where she kept the eggs locked up like treasure so nobody could steal them, and handed one to Shi Zhenxiang to make the soup. Shuang, go help your second aunt start the fire, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. When the egg soup is ready, bring it to me. I need to eat so my milk comes in. Your baby sister is starving. Got it, Shuang said and followed Shi Zhenxiang to the kitchen. He understood exactly what I meant. I was sending him to make sure that woman didn't eat the egg herself. The old Shuang might not have bothered, but something had shifted between us today. He wasn't doing it for me, he was doing it for the baby. If I didn't eat, I couldn't produce milk. If there was no milk, his newborn sister would die. Shi Zhenxiang glared at him. What are you following me for, you little brat? She was furious. Every egg in this house had always gone to her precious son Qin Qing. Now she had to cook one for me, and she'd been planning to sneak a few bites when nobody was looking. Shuang's presence ruined that plan completely. "Just here to help with the fire, second aunt," Shuang said calmly. "Better hurry, my mother's waiting." Xiang was so angry she started slamming the iron wok around, banging it against the stove like she wanted to break it. That got Lai Guiying moving faster than anything. The iron wok had cost nearly 1 tael of silver. It was practically the most valuable thing in the house. If that brainless woman broke it, they'd be saving for months to replace it. The old witch rushed into the kitchen and gave Xiang an earful of cursing. The villagers in the courtyard heard the screaming from the kitchen and grinned with satisfaction. "Well, show's over. It's freezing out here. Let's go home and warm up by the fire. Wait, let's stick around and make sure they actually give her the egg soup. Good idea. I want to see too." "Me too." The ones who'd been about to leave stopped and settled back into watch. I kept my mouth shut for the moment and let things play out. I knew Lai Guiying well enough. Giving up 1 egg a day was like cutting out a piece of her heart. But I'd deal with that battle later. Right now, the most important thing was my body. This was my foundation. Without health, I had nothing. I needed to recover from childbirth, get my milk flowing, and keep this tiny mouse of a baby alive. I looked down at the little creature in my arms. She was ugly, sure, wrinkled and small, and barely there. But something about holding her tugged at the softest part of my heart. The original Luke Hyping had given her life for this child. That meant something. This was a living, breathing human being, and I wasn't going to let her die. I knew what happened to women who didn't recover properly after giving birth. Back in my real life, my own mother had been poor. She'd given birth to all of us and gone straight back to working in the fields within days, washing clothes in cold water, never resting. When she got older, her body fell apart. She had pain everywhere. Her uterus prolapsed, once, then again, then over and over until the doctors had to remove it entirely. The original Luke Hyping had already given birth 3 times before this, and every single time she'd been back in the fields within days. No rest, no nutrition, no recovery. Her body was already damaged. She just couldn't feel it yet because she was still young. But in a few years, all those problems would come crashing down. My mother always said that damage from childbirth could only be healed during the recovery month after the next birth. This was my last pregnancy. I was never doing this again. So this recovery month was my one and only chance to fix everything the original body had been through. I was going to squeeze every drop of healing out of these weeks. Village Chief Peng Tong looked at me with pity. He sighed, and I could tell he was thinking the same thing I was. Once he left, there'd be nothing stopping the old couple from making our lives miserable again. He turned to old man Chen Quan for one final warning. "Brother Chen, the county magistrate's messenger told me this morning to make sure the soldier's family is properly taken care of. Your eldest daughter-in-law just lost her husband and gave birth. She's a widow with orphans. As her father-in-law, you need to look after them. I'm sure you don't want this matter reaching the magistrate's ears." The old man puffed up his chest immediately. "Village chief, you have my word. Anyone who bullies them will answer to me personally." Someone on the wall muttered, "Ha, that'd be more convincing if you weren't the ones doing the bullying." Chen Quan's face darkened. He fixed the speaker with a cold, vicious stare. That old man was dangerous, quiet, petty, and ruthless. His wife was the loud one who played the villain, but he was the real snake behind the curtain. The kind who'd remember an insult for years and find a way to make you pay when you least expected it. The villager who'd spoken up quickly looked away, suddenly very interested in something on the ground. Nobody wanted to end up on Chen Quan's grudge list. The chief started shooing people away. "Nothing more to see. Go on home, everyone." He was right to worry. If the villagers kept poking the old man's pride, he'd just take it out on us later. Then Shuang came out of the kitchen carrying a big clay bowl, steam rising from it. His voice was barely hiding his excitement. "Ma, the egg soup is ready." The smell hit me and my stomach roared so loud I thought the whole village could hear it. It was the most wonderful thing I'd ever smelled. My head was spinning, my vision was going spotty, and I was so hungry and weak I could barely stand. Xiang trailed behind Shuang, glaring at the back of his head with murderous eyes. The boy had watched her like a hawk the entire time she cooked. She hadn't been able to sneak a single taste. Every one of those eggs had always gone to her precious Qingqing, and now she had to hand one over to me. The injustice was eating her alive. Zhang, help me up. Let's go back to our room. My eldest son lifted me to my feet. My plan had actually worked. I could barely believe it myself.
Mama.
I want eggs too. Those are our family's eggs. Why do they get to eat them? Me too. I want some. Chun-Li and Qin-Dongmei, the second household's brats, started whining and blocking our way. Usually the eggs went to their big brother Qingqing, and they'd get a bite or two. Today they were getting nothing, and they were furious. Shi Zhenxiang stood there pretending not to notice, probably thrilled her kids were causing trouble. Sanya straightened her back and said bravely, "That egg soup is for my mother." Chun-Li glared at her. "My mama says your whole family are bastards. Why should bastards get our eggs?" Before anyone could react, my hand moved on its own. Slap. The crack echoed across the courtyard. Chun-Li's cheek turned bright red, and he stood there in total shock. Everyone froze. I leaned down and looked that boy dead in the eye with the most terrifying expression I could manage. "Say, bastard, one more time. I dare you. I'll cook you up and eat you. Look at all that fat on you. I bet you're nice and tender." Waah! The kid burst into tears and scrambled behind his mother. Shi Zhenxiang went ballistic. "Sister-in-law, you've gone too far. He's just a child. How can a grown woman hit a little boy over some silly words? Look, his face is all red." "Mother-in-law, you have to stand up for my Chun-Li." Lai Guiying opened her mouth to say something, but old man Qin Quan shot her a look that shut her up instantly. I kept my voice steady and cold. "Second sister-in-law, you and I both know a child doesn't say things like that unless an adult taught him. When the son goes wrong, blame the father. Since you won't teach your children proper manners, I will. You hit my son. I'll kill you." Shi Zhenxiang lunged at me like an angry hen, but Chunjin caught her wrist before she could touch me. "Second aunt. Don't you dare lay a hand on my mother." She struggled free after a moment and turned on her husband, screaming, "You useless waste. Just standing there watching them bully your wife and son." Chen Bingxing looked tired. "Wife, my brother just died. His widow deserves some sympathy. Keep your voice down." He wasn't being kind, he was being practical. The village chief was still right there, and half the village was watching. Even his parents were trying to calm things down, and here was his wife pouring oil on the fire. Ma Lianhua, that two-faced snake from the third household, couldn't resist stirring the pot. "Oh my, second sister-in-law, you really shouldn't teach children to say such things." She clicked her tongue in mock disapproval, barely hiding her grin. I knew why she was happy. Most of the eggs had always gone to Qingqing. Her own kids barely got half an egg now and then. She'd been holding a grudge about that for years. I didn't have time for their nonsense. Zhang, Shuang, Sanya inside. Now. I herded my children into our room and shut the door behind us. Outside, village chief Peng Tong let out a breath of relief when he saw I had my egg soup. He waved the remaining gawkers away and left. The bowl of egg soup sat on the table, steam curling up into the cold air. My 3 older children stared at it like it was made of gold. They'd never tasted egg in their lives. Not once. Every egg in this household had gone to Qingqing, the second family's precious, future scholar. The other cousins at least got a bite now and then. But my kids? They didn't even know what egg tasted like. Still, hungry as they were, not one of them reached for it. They knew I needed it more. "Mama, eat quickly," Sanya said softly. "Once you eat, you'll have milk for the baby. Zheng, go get me a cup of boiled water and a spoon." On it, I looked down at the baby in my arms. She was fading, barely moving, barely breathing. She needed to eat something, but her stomach was too undeveloped for egg soup, especially as a premature baby. Warm water would have to do for now. The real priority was getting my milk to come in. I picked up the bowl and drank. The soup was simple, just a boiled egg and water, and back in my old life I wouldn't have looked twice at something like this. But right now, it was the most delicious thing I'd ever tasted. The egg had a richness to it that modern factory eggs couldn't touch. When the bowl was almost empty, I left a few mouthfuls and held it out to Shuang and Sanya.
"Here."
1 sip each. Shuang looked away and pretended he didn't care. Give it to Sanya. I don't want any. He was lying. I could see him swallowing hard. But he'd rather go without than take from his sister. Sanya shook her head too. If second brother won't drink, I won't either. Mama, you just had a baby. You need it more. I don't want any. I put on my sternest face. You're not drinking?
Fine.
Then I'll pour it on the ground. I tilted the bowl like I was about to dump it.
Mama, no.
I'll drink. I'll drink. Both of them lunged for the bowl. Watching them each take a sip, I couldn't help but smile. The original Liu Kaiping had treated these children badly, hitting them, yelling at them, never standing up for them. And yet they were still this kind, this selfless. It was in their bones. Shuang's rebelliousness had never been about being a bad kid. He'd fought back because his mother always sided with the bullies. Every time his cousins picked on Sanya, he'd defend her. And every time, the original Liu Kaiping would force him to apologize to keep peace with the in-laws. After years of that, of course he stopped trusting her. Zheng and Sanya had learned to just accept it. But Shuang had too much fire in him to lie down. Sanya was about to finish the last sip, then stopped and set the bowl down. What's wrong? You don't want it? I'll pour it out then. No, I want to save this last mouthful for Big Brother. He's never had egg soup either. My heart squeezed. These kids. There were only 2 or 3 sips left in that bowl, and she wanted to make sure her brother got one.
All right.
Save it for your brother. Zheng came back with the hot water. Sanya pushed the bowl toward him. Big brother, drink it. It's so good. Zheng frowned. This was for Mama. Why did you two drink it? I already had most of it, I told him.
I told them to have a sip each.
Now drink yours before it gets cold. He picked up the bowl and drained every last drop, then set it down with a look of wonder on his face. He'd never tasted anything like it. The baby started crying again. She could smell the food and her tiny stomach was empty. But her cries were weaker than before. I had Zheng rinse the bowl with hot water, then poured fresh warm water into it. I took the spoon and carefully brought it to the baby's lips. The moment the spoon touched her mouth, she stopped crying. Her little lips latched on and started sucking greedily. So newborns knew how to suck by instinct. I'd never known that before. I fed her 2 or 3 spoonfuls and stopped there. Then I dipped a cloth in warm water and gently wiped her face and body clean. In just the short time since her birth, the swelling in her face had already gone down quite a bit. Without the dried mucus covering her, she actually looked a little less like a wrinkled old man. Still not pretty, but at least easier on the eyes. It was freezing cold, so I dug out a small swaddling blanket, one the original Liu Kaiping had made for Sanya years ago from old cotton she'd restuffed. I wrapped the baby up snugly. With some water in her belly and warmth around her body, the little one finally stopped fussing and drifted off to sleep. I sent Zheng to fetch another basin of hot water. I needed to use warm compresses on my chest to help bring my milk in faster. This baby was too small and too weak. Without breast milk soon, she wouldn't make it. As Zheng had opened the door earlier, I'd caught a glimpse of the faces outside. Shi Zhenxiang glaring with pure hatred, Ma Lianhua smirking with that fake concern of hers. I shot them both a look sharp enough to cut glass. They flinched. I saw them exchange a glance of disbelief. The old Liu Kaiping had never looked at anyone that way. Today's version was a complete stranger to them. After the door closed, I could hear Ma Lianhua outside playing her usual game. Oh, second sister-in-law, how could big sister-in-law do that? Everyone knows those eggs are for your Qin. How can she steal food from her own nephew? That's just too much. That woman was poison wrapped in silk. She'd smile to your face and slide a knife between your ribs the moment you turned around. Worse than Shi Zhenxiang, because at least with Shi Zhenxiang you could see the ugly coming. Shi Zhenxiang snapped back at her. Oh, now you're on my side? Where was this energy when father-in-law was standing right there? You're nothing but a fence-sitter. But mark my words, my Qin is a born scholar. When he passes the imperial exams and becomes a great official, whoever stands with us will eat well. Ma Lianhua swallowed her rage and smiled sweetly. Of course, second sister-in-law. I'm always on your side. When Chen Qing becomes a high official, you'll be his honored mother, and I'll be his dear second aunt. I nearly laughed out loud listening to this nonsense through the wall. Chen Qing, a future government official? That spoiled brat who could barely think about anything besides his next meal? He'd be lucky to pass the most basic exam. The village teacher, Master Lu, told every parent the same flattering lies about their children just to keep the gifts coming. And these idiots ate it up. Inside our room, Zheng took the last mouthful of egg soup and licked the bowl clean. His eyes were shining. It really was delicious. When Zheng brought in the hot water, I sent the kids out. But Shuang stopped at the door and turned around, looking like he wanted to say something but couldn't get it out. That wasn't like him at all. This kid was normally afraid of nothing. Spit it out. I don't have all day, Ma. When you said you wanted to split the family, did you mean it? His eyes were shining with hope. Ever since I woke up after giving birth, he'd noticed I was different. He liked this version of me, the one who fought back and talked tough. Not the old mother who whispered and groveled and never stood up for herself. Do you want to split off or not? Yes. I dream about it. The answer flew out of his mouth without a second's hesitation.
Zheng? Sanya?
What about you? Zheng was more cautious. He was the eldest, and he thought further ahead. Ma, if we push for split, Grandma will never give us a house. Where would we live? And your body isn't healed yet, and the baby is so small. Grandma definitely won't give us any grain either. What would we eat? Smart kid. He was absolutely right about all of it. I know all that. I'm just asking you one thing. Do you want to split or not? Yes. All three of them said it together. No hesitation this time.
Good. We will split from this family.
That's a promise. But now isn't the right time. Let me recover first. Once I'm stronger, I'll make it happen, even if your grandma doesn't agree. I'll find a way to make her be the one to suggest it. Then I pulled them closer and lowered my voice. Sanya, you cook dinner for the whole family, every night. When Grandma gives you the grain from her locked room, before you start cooking, grab a small handful and hide it in your pocket. Be careful. Don't let anyone from the second or third household see you. A little bit every day adds up. When we finally split off, at least we won't starve on day one. Got it, Ma. Sanya's eyes sparkled as she nodded. And when you all go out digging wild vegetables, if you find a good patch, don't dig it all up. Always leave some behind. I whispered the rest of my plan to them, keeping my voice barely above a breath in case anyone was listening through the walls. We understand, Ma. Good. Now go. At dinner, bring me some porridge. Shuang, if your grandma tries to refuse, tell her I said I'll send you to fetch the village chief. Deal. Shuang was practically bouncing. For once, his mother wasn't cowering. She was scheming. He loved it. After they left, I bolted the door shut. The cold hit me like a wall the moment I opened my jacket. I was shivering so hard my teeth chattered. The hot water Zheng brought was still warm enough, so I soaked a cloth and pressed it against my chest, massaging in circles the way my mother had taught my sister-in-law after giving birth. The idea was to open up the milk ducts so the milk would come in faster. The original Lu Kaiping was thin and bony everywhere, but to my pleasant surprise, she actually had decent equipment up top. At least they weren't completely flat. In my previous life, I'd been tall and pretty with fair skin and nice features, but my chest was hopeless, an absolute bored, no matter what bra I wore. So this was actually an upgrade in one department. I kept the warm compress on for about 15 minutes until the water went cold, then wiped down my body. Suddenly, a sharp cramp hit my lower belly, and the postpartum bleeding surged. I scrambled to change my undergarments and dug through my memory to find a menstrual belt. When I pulled it out and saw how it worked, a strip barely 2 fingers wide that you stuffed with wood ash, my face turned green. Wood ash. For absorbing blood. There wasn't even any proper absorbent cloth available. It felt filthy and primitive, but there was nothing else. At least there was some leftover ash to use in a pinch. I rummaged through the only cabinet in the room and found 2 sets of clothes, both faded from washing and covered in patches. I changed out of my blood-soaked things and crawled into bed. Bed was generous. It was wooden planks with straw underneath. Some of the straw was still stained and smelled like blood from the birth. I pulled out the worst pieces, shifted some cleaner straw from the side, and finally lay down. For the first time since arriving in this body, I had a moment to actually look at my surroundings. The room was tiny, maybe 10 square meters. Low ceiling, one small wooden window, dim and damp. Two plank beds separated by a single rotting cabinet. That was everything. The entire worldly possessions of our household. I cursed under my breath. What kind of sins did I commit in my past life to deserve this? Transmigrated into a starving widow with 4 children in some godforsaken ancient village. Not a single coin to my name. If I actually split from the family right now, we'd be dead within a week. Back in my old life, I was obsessed with novels, especially transmigration stories. Farming stories, kingdom-building stories, all of it. Every heroine in those books got some kind of cheat, a magical space, a system, special powers. They'd arrive in their new world and immediately start thriving. So where was mine? Why was my transmigration nothing but misery? I wailed internally. Heaven, open your eyes. Have some pity on me.
Ding.
A pleasant mechanical chime rang inside my head. Congratulations, host. You have successfully unlocked the keyword and triggered your golden finger. Heaven has heard your plea and custom-designed a system just for you. I am Robot Wimp, your personal assistant for the Wimp system. My eyes went wide. A system. I actually got a system. Maybe I'd been too hasty cursing the heavens. But wait, this cheat showed up awfully late. In every novel I'd read, the heroines got their systems right at the start. Mine waited until I'd been slapped, starved, nearly buried alive, and had to fight an old woman for an egg.
Hold on. Did that thing just say
Wimp system? As if reading my thoughts, the emotionless mechanical voice repeated, Host, I am your Wimp system. What kind of garbage name was that? I was already the biggest pushover in this village, and now my cheat system was literally called Wimp. Before I could complain further, a transparent crystal panel appeared in the air in front of me, glowing with large characters. Would you like to log in or register? Of course, I wanted to register. The system responded to my thoughts and jumped to the registration screen. I followed the prompts and discovered I didn't need to touch anything. I could control it all with my mind. Ding ding. Welcome, host, to the Wimp system. This system provides personalized service. Please note that many features are still under development and additional functions will be unlocked over time. I was thrilled. Sure, the name, Wimp system, was embarrassing, but a golden finger was a golden finger. Even a bad one had to be better than nothing, right?
wrong?
After I logged in and looked around, there was absolutely nothing. The interface was completely bare, just a welcome screen with the words, "Welcome to the Wimp system. Let the wimping stop here." That was it. No buttons, no menus, no features. Nothing. I lost it. What kind of garbage system is this? You've got nothing. What's even the point of you? Is heaven messing with me on purpose? Did I kill someone's mother in a past life? Did I dig up someone's ancestral grave? Every other transmigration novel gives the heroine a decent cheat, a magical space, a shop full of treasures, supernatural powers. What do I get? An empty screen with a stupid name. If you're going to give me something, at least make it worth having. Don't dangle a carrot with nothing behind it. I'm already the most pathetic person in this village, and now I get a system literally called Wimp. This is a joke. I ranted and raged, but the system's robot, Wimpbot, didn't even bother responding. I was about to let loose another string of curses when I noticed something. A small red had appeared at the bottom of the screen. I swallowed the curse mid-breath. In my old life, a red dot meant a notification. A notification meant something new. Open it. Show me what it says. The mechanical voice chimed. Congratulations, host. You have triggered another keyword and unlocked a new feature. The system presents you with the Dirt Poor Marketplace. I almost screamed again. Dirt Poor Marketplace? Was this system designed specifically to mock me? If you can't give me anything decent, then don't bother. A marketplace called Dirt Poor. How good could it possibly be? But I opened it anyway, because what choice did I have? And, of course, the marketplace was completely empty. Not a single product. Nothing for sale. Just a blank screen staring back at me. I didn't even have the energy to curse anymore. I softened my tone. When you need something from someone, or in this case, something from a robot, you have to play nice. Hey, Wimpbot. Come out, please. How may I help you, host? You gave me the system. The least you can do is explain how it works. And that marketplace has nothing in it. Host, the system is still in development. Many features are in the testing phase and will come online gradually. Marketplace products will be added soon. Please stay tuned. New users who sign in for 3 consecutive days will receive 10 WIMP coins per sign-in. Coins can be accumulated and exchanged for products in the marketplace. Additionally, as a first-time user, you may claim a free welcome gift pack. A sign-in screen popped up and I signed in immediately. Even though the marketplace was empty now, products might show up later, and those coins could come in handy. After signing in, a cheerful sound played, and the welcome gift pack appeared. My heart leaped. I pressed my palms together and prayed. Please let it be food. Please let it be food. I opened it with my mind. 2 universal discount coupons. 50% off any product in the marketplace. I deflated like a punctured balloon. 50% off in an empty store was 50% off nothing. Completely useless. But then I noticed the coupons had no expiration date, and my mood lifted slightly. Maybe someday, when the marketplace actually had products, these would be worth something. I told myself to be patient. This system might be pathetic now, but I had a feeling it would deliver eventually. It had to. Otherwise, what was even the point? I was exhausted. The whole day had been one disaster after another. Dying, transmigrating, fighting the in-laws, screaming in the courtyard, negotiating for eggs. I closed the transparent panel and lay down to rest. But of course, the baby woke up crying. She was hungry. Obviously, she was hungry. She'd had nothing but a few spoonfuls of water since being born. But I had no milk yet, and there was nothing else to feed her. She was wailing now, tears streaming down her tiny wrinkled face. I picked her up and wiped her cheeks. The poor thing felt my finger touch her face and immediately turned her mouth toward it, trying to suck. She thought anything that touched her was food. That gave me an idea. My milk hadn't come in, but maybe letting her suckle would help speed things up. Stimulation was supposed to open up the milk ducts. I lifted my shirt and brought her to my chest. The moment she felt it, her mouth latched on, and she started sucking with everything she had. Her tiny face turned red from the effort. She sucked and sucked, but nothing came out. She let go and cried in frustration. Then she tried again. And again. I let her go back and forth on both sides for a while, and gradually I started to feel a slight swelling in my chest. Was the milk starting to come? A spark of hope lit up inside me. It was working, slowly, but it was working. I just needed to keep letting her suck. After a long while, the baby was completely spent. She was sweating so much that even her thin hair was damp. She gave up, cried weakly, and fell asleep from exhaustion. Poor little thing. Meanwhile, out in the kitchen, things were moving along. Lai Guiying had measured out some rough rice and grabbed a few sweet potatoes, then handed them to Sanya to cook porridge. Don't you dare sneak a single bite, you brat. If I catch you eating, I'll rip your mouth apart. Sanya put on her most terrified expression. Grandma, even if you gave me a water barrel for courage, I wouldn't dare. The old witch glared at her with those cloudy eyes. Humph. You better not. She watched Sanya wash the rice and put it in the pot, then finally shuffled out of the kitchen. The second Lai Guiying was gone, Sanya's small hand shot into the pot. She grabbed a fistful of rice and stuffed it into the pocket at her waist, quick as a little mouse. She remembered what I told her. If we wanted to split from this family, we needed grain. A little bit every meal, day after day, it would add up. Sanya chopped the sweet potatoes into small pieces and added them to the pot, then tossed in the wild greens and a handful of coarse salt. Soon the kitchen filled with the smell of rough rice and vegetable porridge. Lai Guiying emerged from her room carrying a small jar of oil like it was made of pure gold. She scraped the tiniest bit of lard off the inside with a bamboo stick and dropped it into the pot. Instantly the aroma doubled, and Sanya had to swallow hard to keep from drooling.
Ma.
I'm home. Is there food? I'm starving. Chin Ching, the second family's precious firstborn, came stomping in from his school, yelling before he'd even crossed the threshold. The old witch's face transformed in an instant. from sour to sweet, hard to soft. She beamed at him like he was the sun itself.
Oh, King.
Perfect timing. Go wash your hands, dinner's almost ready. At dinner, Lai Guiying ladled out the porridge herself, same as always. The thickest portions went first, to herself and old man Chen Quan, then to the second household, then the third. By the time it reached my children, the porridge was so thin you could see your reflection in it. Each of my 3 kids got barely half a small bowl. Grandma, what about my mother's portion? Zheng spoke up. Shi Zhenxiang sneered from across the table. Your mother already ate an egg. She wants porridge too? In her dreams. Then her darling Qin Qing noticed his plate was missing something. His face darkened. Ma, where's my egg? Don't even get me started. Your big aunt ate your egg today. The brat threw a tantrum. I don't care. I want my egg. If you don't give me eggs, when I become a top official, none of you are eating well. Lai Guiying practically fell over herself apologizing to the 12-year-old. Oh, my precious grandson, we only have a few eggs left. That debt collector ate one today, but tomorrow Grandma will cook you one, I promise. Then Chenin, the 3rd household's 7-year-old, piped up. Grandma, I want an egg too. Shi Zhenxiang's face dropped. Chenin, those eggs are for your big brother. He's the family's future. We're all counting on him. I don't care. I want eggs too. Why does big brother always get them? Little Chenin started bawling. Ma Lianhua smacked him on the backside. All you ever think about is eggs. Were you a starving ghost in your last life? Shi Zhenxiang's face went green. She caught the hidden jab instantly. On the surface, Ma Lianhua was scolding her own son, but starving ghost was really aimed at Qin Qing. 3rd sister-in-law, you did that on purpose. Who exactly are you talking about? Ma Lianhua fired back without blinking. I'm scolding my own son. Did I step on your tail? The 2 women went at it until old man Chen Quan slammed his palm on the table so hard everyone jumped. Even little Chenin froze mid-cry, with his mouth hanging open. Enough. You think this family isn't chaotic enough already? I heard every word of it through the thin wall. Every time Lai Guiying called my baby a debt collector, I had to clench my teeth and force myself to let it go. I'd just given birth. My body was barely holding together after the day's battles. Getting into another fight right now would only hurt me. I'd had a little egg soup earlier, so my stomach wasn't completely empty. Better to rest and save my strength. Once I recovered, these people were going to pay for every insult. I'd make sure of it. Mama, porridge is here. Sanya came in carrying a chipped clay bowl with a small portion of something yellowish-brown and watery inside. It looked exactly like the slop I used to help my family cook for the pigs back in my old life. My stomach turned just looking at it. Mama, eat it while it's hot. She held it out like she was presenting treasure. Have you eaten? I'm full already, Mama. You eat. I didn't take the bowl. I just looked at her. Her lips were cracked and dry. Her eyes were locked on that porridge with naked hunger. She was lying through her teeth. She hadn't eaten a thing. I had egg soup earlier. I'm full. You eat it. She shook her head. Mama, big brother, and second brother, and I each had a little bit. We're full. This is saved just for you. You need to eat so you can make milk for baby sister. Fine. I'll have some. I took the bowl and drank one mouthful. What was this supposed to be? Not sweet, not salty. Rough enough to scratch my throat going down. Sanya's eyes were sparkling. Mama, isn't tonight's porridge good? Grandma, let me put 3 sweet potatoes in it. And I added the wild greens I picked this morning. It's good. I lied through a smile, then handed the bowl back. I'm full. You finish the rest. Really, Mama? You're really full. Really? Drink it. The moment she had permission, Sanya tipped that bowl up and gulped down every last drop. Then she licked the bowl clean. Not a grain of rice left. She grinned, her eyes curving into little crescent moons. Mama, sweet potato porridge is so yummy. I just wish there was more. My heart ached. You silly girl, sweet potatoes are pig food. When we split off and Mama earns some money, I'll feed you white rice and wheat buns every single day. Meat at every meal. Whatever you want to eat, you'll eat it. And if you really love sweet potatoes that much, we'll plant a whole field of them just for you. Really? That would be amazing. She looked ready to burst with happiness. White rice and meat at every meal. She'd never even dared to dream of such things. But honestly, if she could just have sweet potatoes at every meal, she'd already consider herself the luckiest girl alive.
Oh,
Mama, look what I got. She suddenly remembered and dug into her waist pocket, pulling out the handful of rough rice she'd stolen from the pot. I grinned. You clever little thing. I only told you once and you already pulled it off. Sanya scratched her head, embarrassed. This was new for her, being praised by her mother. The old Luke hyping only ever yelled. And she certainly never promised meat at every meal or said sweet things to make her daughter smile. I spread the damp rice out in a cloth bag to dry. The winter air was cold and dry enough that it wouldn't take long. Before Zheng and Shuang came back to the room, I had Sanya bring me more hot water for another round of warm compresses. Our family only had one room. The second and third households each had two. With Zheng and Shuang getting older, sharing this tiny space was getting more and more awkward. The hot compresses, the egg soup, the baby's repeated attempts at nursing throughout the night, it all added up. Just before dawn, I finally felt a tightness and swelling in my chest. The milk was coming. The baby woke up right on cue, as if she sensed it. I pulled her close and let her latch on. She sucked desperately, and after a long moment, I heard it, the tiny sound of her swallowing. She'd finally gotten milk. Real milk. The baby who'd been starving since the moment she was born went quiet at last, drinking peacefully, her small body relaxing against mine. The milk wasn't much at first, but it was enough. The baby drank her fill and fell into the deepest, most peaceful sleep she'd had since being born. Moonlight crept through the small window and fell across the other bed. I saw Zheng curled up tight, shivering. Shuang had rolled over and stolen most of the blanket in his sleep. I sighed and got up. I pulled the blanket off Shuang and spread it over Zheng. He woke up instantly, startled by the figure standing over him in the dark. It's me. You're almost old enough to marry, and you still can't keep a blanket on yourself? Ma. He relaxed. I'm not cold. Let Shuang have more of it. That's when I realized how small this blanket actually was, maybe 4 feet wide. Zheng was nearly my height, and Shuang wasn't much shorter. 2 growing boys, sharing this tiny thing was ridiculous. And whatever was stuffed inside was hard as a board. It couldn't have been keeping anyone warm. This blanket is tiny. And stiff as a rock. It's fine, Ma. Grandma always says kids have 3 fires burning inside them. I'm really not cold. The memory surfaced. The original Luke hyping had once asked Lai Guiying for a bigger blanket. The old witch screamed at her about 3 fires and told her to stop being wasteful. The original mother, humiliated, came back and took her anger out on the boys. After that, Zheng never mentioned the blanket again. He just quietly gave his brother the bigger share every night. I tucked the blanket around him. Scoot closer to your brother, so you don't freeze. I'll make your grandma get you a bigger blanket. I went back to my bed. Behind me, Zheng lay still, but I knew he was awake. His mother had just covered him with a blanket and promised to get him a new one. The old Luke hyping would never have done either of those things. Not in a million years. That was my first night in this body, and I barely slept. The bed was hard wooden planks over straw. The blanket was thin and cold. But more than the discomfort, it was the reality of my situation that kept me awake. Yesterday, I was a 28-year-old single woman with a career. Now I was a widow with 4 children in some ancient backwater village. The gap between those 2 lives was so enormous I still couldn't fully accept it. I tossed and turned for hours before finally drifting off. When I opened my eyes again, it was morning. Same low ceiling. Same crumbling walls. Same tiny baby beside me. This was real.
There was no going back.
I had to accept it and figure out how to survive. Zheng, Shuang, and Sanya had already gotten up and left. I had no idea where they'd gone. Then I remembered the system. I needed to sign in today. I pulled up the transparent panel and checked in. 20 WIMP coins this time. Added to yesterday's 10, I had 30 total. If tomorrow gave me 30, I'd have 60. The coins could supposedly be exchanged for goods, though who knew what anything would cost in that empty marketplace. Then I noticed something new. A search bar had appeared at the bottom of the interface, and inside it was a camera icon. My heart leaped. I clicked it open. The search bar worked just like a search engine for my old world. I could type any question and get answers. And the camera had an object recognition feature. Point it at anything, and it would identify it. Finally, this useless WIMP system had actually given me something worthwhile. With these two tools, I could identify plants, herbs, ingredients, anything. This was a real advantage. I checked the marketplace again. Still empty. Still living up to its name, the dirt-poor marketplace. The baby woke up crying. I scooped her up and started nursing. My movements were surprisingly smooth. Apparently, this body's muscle memory for breastfeeding was still intact after 3 previous children. The baby had cleared my milk ducts with all her desperate sucking last night, and now the milk was flowing properly. Her little face turned rosy as she drank contentedly. I finally exhaled with relief. She was going to be okay. Then my own stomach growled so loud it could have woken the neighbors. I looked down at the baby, happily milk-drunk and drifting back to sleep. You little brat. You're full and satisfied, but your mother is starving. After she fell asleep, I bolted the door and changed my menstrual cloth. From the original body's memories, I knew that postpartum bleeding would be heavy for the first week. The best thing was to eat foods that helped blood circulation and clear the discharge faster, eggs, soup, and brown sugar water being the simplest options. The eggs were locked in Lai Guiying's room. The brown sugar was locked in Lai Guiying's room. Everything useful in this house was locked behind that woman's door. I'd need to figure out how to get my hands on her key. The house was strangely quiet this morning. I unbolted the door and poked my head out and nearly jumped out of my skin. A pair of eyes was staring right back at me from inches away. Lai Guiying. She'd been about to knock, her hand frozen midair. I clutched my chest. Mother-in-law, you move like a ghost. Not a single sound. Her face darkened. You're the ghost. Your whole family are ghosts. A house full of debt collectors. Then she got to the point. You look like you've recovered plenty. Stop lounging around and get to the fields. The soil needs turning before spring planting. I stared at her in disbelief. Mother-in-law, I can't believe those words just left your mouth. I nearly died yesterday, and you want me in the fields? Forget a full recovery month. At least give me 10 days. 2 weeks. Then I played my card. But if you really want me working sooner, there's a simple solution. Feed me properly, more eggs, some chicken soup. Better food means faster recovery, and faster recovery means I'm back in the field sooner. Simple math. The old witch's eyes nearly popped out of her skull. Daughter-in-law, I think the door crushed your brain on the way out. Eggs and chicken soup? You truly are out of your mind. I glared at the old witch. Mother-in-law, I think your brain is the one that got squeezed. Your promises are worth less than a fart. You forgot already? Yesterday, in front of the village chief and all those people, you promised me eggs every single day. Lai Guiying's eyes went round. When did I ever promise that? Who's your witness? I gave you 1 egg yesterday, and that was generous. Don't push your luck, just as I expected. It was never real, just a trick to shut me up in front of the crowd. They never intended to honor a single word. I laughed coldly. Lai Guiying, my husband's body isn't even cold, and you're already going back on your word. You took his pension money, and you won't even spare 1 egg for the widow he left behind. Aren't you afraid of what happens to people who do things like that? She exploded like a firecracker, screaming that she'd raised my husband, fed him, found him a wife. She said my children were nothing but leeches eating through her grain supply. She said she'd been burdened enough without me, shamelessly, popping out another baby. Then she said the thing that crossed the line. Your husband's been gone to war for over half a year. Who even knows whose bastard that baby really is? Everything else, the insults, the cursing, the greed, I could swallow. But questioning my dead husband's child? Calling my newborn a bastard? My hands moved before my brain caught up. Left, right. 2 hard slaps across her face. She wasn't expecting it. She stumbled and fell. Before she could get up, I was on top of her, raining slaps down on her cheeks. Your mouth is so foul you must have eaten dung for breakfast. Every word that comes out smells like a sewer. The old witch was stunned at first. The old Luke Hyping had never raised a hand in her life. But once the stinging registered, she started howling like she was being murdered. Help! Someone help! My daughter-in-law is killing me. I kept slapping. Go ahead and scream. I want people to come. Let them hear how you promised me eggs yesterday and broke your word this morning. Neighbors started poking their heads out. Voices carried through the cold morning air. What's happening at the Chin house again? But the old hag is bullying the eldest daughter-in-law. That poor woman, husband, just died, barely survived childbirth, and her own family treats her like garbage. When I heard the crowd gathering, I jumped off the old woman and executed my plan. I raised my own hand and slapped myself hard, twice across the face. The marks bloomed instantly, angry red fingerprints on my cheeks. Lai Guiying was still on the ground, completely confused. She'd been howling for help, and now she watched me hit my own face. She was so stunned she forgot to keep crying. Before she could figure out what was happening, I grabbed a hat, put it on, marched out to the courtyard, planted myself on the ground, and started wailing for the whole village to hear. Somebody please come help. This is too much. Just because my husband wasn't her real son, she bullies us every day. Now she's saying my newborn baby isn't my husband's child. All I asked for was one egg so I could nurse my baby, and she beat me for it. Lai Guiying scrambled out after me, pointing and sputtering. She's lying. She hit me first. Look at my face. These marks are from her. I looked up at her with the most innocent, heartbroken expression I could manage. Mother-in-law, how could you be so cruel? You're hitting yourself just to frame me? I said it with a perfectly straight face. Not a blush, not a twitch. The old Luke Hyping had a good reputation in the village. Quiet, obedient, never caused trouble. People naturally believed me. That old hag has no shame. Her eldest son just died, and she treats his family like this. She'd better watch out, his ghost might come knocking, bullying orphans and a widow just because they're not blood-related. Disgusting. Lai Guiying was so angry she could barely form words. She jabbed her finger at me. You quiet little snake. I really did underestimate you. Then someone shouted. The village chief is here. The crowd parted. Chief Peng Tong walked up with a stern look, and beside him was second Aunt Xiao Jindi, Lai Guiying's sister-in-law from the other branch of the family. The chief frowned. Bing Nan's wife, we settled this yesterday. Why is there trouble again? Village chief, I'm not the one causing trouble. My mother-in-law broke her promise. Not only did she refuse me eggs, she told me to go work the fields immediately after giving birth. And she called my newborn a bastard, said the baby isn't my husband's. The chief turned to Lai Guiying with a disapproving look. Elder sister, what is this? You agreed yesterday. How can you go back on your word? Your eldest son just died. How can you treat his wife this way? Xiao Jindi helped me up with exaggerated tenderness. Dear niece, get off that cold ground. You just had a baby. Sitting on frozen dirt will give you lifelong problems. I knew exactly what Xiao Jindi was. She was a smooth talker, all polish and no substance, a veteran at playing the caring relative while scheming behind the curtain. She and Lai Guiying had never gotten along. This morning she wasn't here to help me. She was here to enjoy watching her sister-in-law squirm. What had actually happened was this. Lai Guiying had sent the second and third households out to turn the soil this morning. Those lazy parasites had never done real fieldwork in their lives, and they'd immediately started fighting with each other. So the old witch came back to drag me out to the fields instead. She hadn't counted on me fighting back, and she definitely hadn't expected me to turn the whole thing into another public spectacle. Now she was standing there with slap marks on her face, publicly humiliated for the second day in a row, watching her sister-in-law play the hero at her expense. Xiao Jindi shook her head with theatrical sadness. Sister-in-law, this really isn't right. Your eldest son just passed, and you're already mistreating his widow. Be careful his spirit doesn't come visit you at night. Lai Guiying's eyes bulged. Xiao, mind your own business. My family's affairs are none of your concern. You show up acting all kind-hearted now, but where were you yesterday? If you care so much about her, where are your eggs? All you do is flap your lips and play the saint so you look good. Xiao Jindi's face went red, then white, after Lai Guiying's tongue lashing. The old witch had hit the mark perfectly. I knew the real reason Xiao Jindi was here. Her second son, Chen Guoyang, had gone to war alongside my husband. They'd been on night watch together when the enemy ambushed their camp. Both men fought and screamed loud enough to wake the others, saving the whole unit. My husband took 2 knife wounds and bled to death. Guoyang survived but lost a hand and came home covered in scars, a cripple for life. The government gave our family 10 taels of silver for a dead soldier. For a crippled one, they gave Guoyang's family just 1 tael and sent him packing. Xiao Jindi had been so furious she'd actually screamed at her own son for not dying instead, because a corpse was worth 10 taels and a cripple was worth 1, plus she'd have to feed him forever. So Xiao Jindi wasn't here out of kindness. She was here because she was green with envy over those 10 taels and wanted to stir up trouble for Lai Guiying. Classic troublemaker, the type who's jealous when you have something and mocks you when you don't. I decided to test her. I grabbed her hand with a grateful look. Second aunt, you're so kind. Your family has laying hens too. How about lending me a few eggs? The moment she understood I was asking her for something, she yanked her hand away like I'd burned her.
Oh.
I just remembered. I left a fire burning at home. If I don't hurry back, the whole house could burn down. She was gone in 3 seconds flat, practically leaving a dust cloud behind her. With my audience secured, I turned back to the village chief and poured it on thick. I repeated everything Lai Guiying had said, with generous embellishments, then wailed about how she'd called my baby a bastard and how life wasn't worth living anymore. Then I ran toward the wall like I was going to smash my head against it. The villagers panicked and grabbed me. Don't do it. Think of your children. What would happen to them? Of course, I wasn't actually going to hit the wall. I'm not stupid. But the moment people rushed to stop me, I had exactly what I needed: sympathy and leverage. I let them hold me back and collapsed into pitiful sobbing. Fine, if mother-in-law really won't give me eggs, then just split the pension money. Half for her, half for me. I'll go begging in the streets before I come to her door again. Absolutely not, Lai Guiying shouted. I won't split a single coin, and I won't let you separate. Your husband is dead. Of course I need to take care of you and the children. She said it like she was being noble, but everyone knew the truth. She wasn't keeping us out of love. She was keeping us because we were free labor. My son Zheng could outwork both her real sons combined. Sanya cooked every meal. Losing us meant losing her workforce. And that pension money? She'd sooner die than share it. The villagers weren't fooled. They started piling on. She works the eldest family like oxen but won't let her own sons lift a finger, not their blood, so they get treated like slaves. That pushed Lai Guiying over the edge. She planted her hands on her hips and went nuclear, not on me, but on the entire crowd. Mind your own business. Did I eat your rice? Did I bother your family? Who asked for your opinions? Then she started picking targets. She pointed at one woman. Mrs. Liu, worry about your own household. Your husband the butcher is always groping his female customers. Watch out someone doesn't plant a bastard in your family, she whipped around to another. And you, Mrs. Gao, your daughter-in-law's been married 5 or 6 years and hasn't laid a single egg. Must be all the wicked things your family's done. Heaven won't give you a grandson, then another. Sixth aunt, you're laughing? Your daughter-in-law is pregnant right now. Better pray that grandson comes out with all his parts. And the rest of you, what are you staring at? Get lost. That old witch was an absolute weapon. She went after everyone's deepest insecurities and most private shames, dragging ancestors into it, cursing future generations. Her combat power with that mouth was genuinely terrifying. 2 of the women she targeted, Mrs. Gao and Sixth Aunt, went bright red, then charged at her like wild animals. One grabbed her hair, the other clawed at her face. 3 women rolling around in the dirt, screaming and scratching. The village chief had to get people to pull them apart. Lai Guiying, if I see you again, I'll beat you on sight. Your mouth smells like a latrine. If it weren't for the chief standing here, I'd rip your lips off. They were dragged away still cursing. Lai Guiying sat in the dirt with her hair in a bird's nest and scratch marks across her face, slapping her thighs and howling at the sky, calling them every name in existence. She had zero shame about any of it. The remaining villagers backed away quickly. Nobody wanted to be her next target on a day that was supposed to start peacefully. She's mad.
Completely mad.
She bites anyone who comes near her, like a rabid dog. You can't bite a dog back when it bites you. Let's just go. A woman like that, not building a shred of goodwill for her children and grandchildren. It'll all come back to her someday. The village chief's face was black as coal. Lai Guiying hadn't cursed him by name, but the meaning was clear enough. She thought he was a busybody too. He hardened his voice. Lai, you made an agreement yesterday, and you're already breaking it. Do you not respect my authority? Don't forget, I report to the county magistrate every month. That finally deflated her. She wrinkled up her face and whined. Village chief, I would never disrespect you. It's not that I won't give her eggs. It's that the hens aren't laying. They've got nothing to eat, so there's nothing to lay. Then she had the audacity to try turning it around. Village chief, you're such a good man. I know your family has laying hens. How about you lend me a few eggs? I'll pay you back later. That old witch's scheme was brilliant, I had to admit. She knew the village chief was too proud to refuse in front of everyone, so she cornered him into lending her eggs. Through her, of course. Anything that passed through Lai Guiying's hands never came back. She was the most notorious deadbeat in Dahika village. The chief's face cycled through several shades of red and white. He wanted to say no, but he was the village leader. Refusing a few eggs to feed a nursing widow's baby would make him look petty. Before he could find the right words, the old hag pounced. Village chief, your silence means yes. I heard your daughter Dang say just yesterday that your hens have been laying every single day. It's settled then. The poor man was trapped. He'd come to mediate and was leaving with fewer eggs than he started the day with. But Lai Guiying wasn't done. She turned to the remaining villagers like a hawk eyeing chickens. Fifth aunt, seventh sister-in-law, I know your families have eggs too. My eldest son just died. His widow has no milk for the baby. The baby will starve to death. You're all good people. Surely you wouldn't let an infant die. I'll be by your houses to collect later. Fifth aunt's eyes nearly popped out. Like hell you will. That's your daughter-in-law. Your family's problem. What's it got to do with us? I want eggs too. She turned and fled like the ground was on fire. Seventh sister-in-law suddenly went deaf and chased right after her. The rest of the crowd realized that watching this show came with a price tag. One by one they scattered, running home before Lai Guiying could name them next. Within moments, only the village chief remained. I watched the old woman smirk at their retreating backs. She was already planning to go door to door collecting eggs, using the chief's donation as leverage. If the village leader gave eggs, how could anyone else refuse? The chief was thoroughly done. His face was dark as a storm cloud. Enough. Stop causing scenes. A mother-in-law who won't feed her daughter-in-law during her recovery month. If word spreads, no family in the surrounding villages will want to marry their daughters into Dahiku. Do you want to make enemies of the entire village? Think about it carefully. He turned and left. That was it. He was washing his hands of the Chin family forever. I called after him. Village chief, wait. I'm not finished. But he was gone. Lai Guiying glared at me with murder in her eyes. This isn't over. Don't think having the village chief here means you've won. I'll deal with you later. Then she fixed her tangled hair with her bony fingers and trotted after the chief in quick little steps. Village chief, wait for me. I'm coming to get those eggs. She was actually going to do it. She was genuinely chasing the village chief to his house to take his eggs. I stood there and watched, genuinely impressed against my will. I'd met shameless people before, but nothing in my 2 lives had prepared me for this level. This woman's face was thicker than a city wall. She'd just been beaten up by 2 villagers, cursed out half the neighborhood, and was now trotting down the road to rob the village chief of his breakfast, all without a shred of embarrassment. My plan had been to cause enough chaos to force a family split. But once again, I'd underestimated this old woman. She deflected everything, turned the crowd against each other, and walked away with free eggs from the chief's personal supply. I deflated with a sigh. The babies crying pull me back inside. Out in the fields, my kids were working. From the original body's memories and what I'd overheard, the picture was clear. Lai Guiying had sent the second and third households to turn the soil this morning, their first time doing real labor, and they were already complaining. Chen Bingsheng had flopped down on the ridge after barely swinging a hoe. "Wife, I can't do this. I'm dying." Shi Zhenxiang checked that old man Qin Quan wasn't watching, then whispered, "Are you stupid? Just pretend to work. That's what we always do when the eldest family is around." Meanwhile, my 3 children were doing the actual work, Zhang, Shuang, and Sanya swinging their small hoes, turning earth row by row. The second and third family's kids were off to the side picking up earthworms for the chickens.
Sanya was worried about me.
"Big brother, do you think Grandma will make Mama come work the fields?" Shuang shook his head confidently. "The old Mama, maybe. But this Mama? No way. Haven't you noticed she's different? She used to be terrified of Grandma. Now she talks back to her face." Zhang paused his digging. He'd noticed it too. Ever since their mother woke up after giving birth, everything about her had changed. Her voice, her attitude, even the way she looked at them. She was warmer, fiercer, nothing like before. Chun-Li, the second household's chunky 9-year-old, strutted over and sneered at them. "What are you whispering about? Get back to work, or I'll tell Grandma to starve you tonight." That kid was only 8 but already taller and heavier than Shuang, thanks to eating the family's best food while my children got watery scraps. He was a miniature version of his mother, spoiled, loud, and cruel. Shuang's eyes flashed with something cold and dangerous. He said nothing, but I knew that look from his father's memories. That boy was keeping a list, and Chun-Li's name was written in big letters. Ma Lianhua stood up from her spot and announced she needed to go check on things at home, any excuse to stop working. Shi Zhenxiang immediately jumped up too. Their kids followed. Within moments, the only people left working in the field were my 3 children and old man Qin Quan. Sanya set down her hoe. "Grandfather, I want to go home and check on Mama and the baby." The old man's face hardened. "Trying to slack off again? You 3 aren't leaving until this field is finished." "No work, no dinner." Sanya's face crumbled. They hadn't even eaten breakfast before being dragged out here. Her stomach had been growling for hours. I was inside nursing the baby when all of this happened, but I heard about it later and pieced together every detail. That old witch chased the village chief all the way to his front door. The chief was practically jogging, trying to get home before she caught up. The moment he burst through his gate, he started yelling for his wife. "Woman, do we have eggs? Quick, hide them." His wife, Yang Lu, was a sturdy woman in her 40s. She stared at him like he'd lost his mind. "What's gotten into you? Just tell me, do we have eggs or not?" "Yes, 5 or 6. "Why? Hide them."
"Now."
"She's right behind me." But Yang Lu misunderstood. She thought her husband wanted the eggs brought out, so she went and fetched a basket with all of them sitting right on top. The chief nearly choked. "You idiot woman. Why did you bring them out?" "Too late." Lai Guiying waltzed through the gate like she owned the place, spotted the basket of eggs in Yang Lu's hands, and her wrinkled face lit up like the sun had risen just for her. She snatched the basket right out of Yang Lu's grip. "Village chief, thank you so much. I was worried you'd be stingy, but here you are with the eggs already prepared. What a kind man. My dead eldest son will bless you from heaven." And she was out the door before anyone could blink. Yang Lu stood there holding empty air. "What just happened? Why is that woman taking our eggs?" The chief slumped into feet and explained. His wife exploded. "You fool. You're the village chief and you can't even protect your own eggs? Those were for our grandchildren. And you think that woman is going to give a single one to Lu Kaiping? You must be dreaming." She was right, of course. Everyone knew that anything passing through Lai Guiying's hands disappeared forever. But the old witch was just getting warmed up. Ma Lianhua and Shi Zhenxiang had followed her like baby ducklings. The moment they heard the word, eggs, their eyes had lit up and their feet moved on their own. These 2 knew their mother-in-law's special talent. She was famous for her sticky fingers. If she said she was going to collect eggs, she meant it. With the village chief's eggs as her trophy and his name as her weapon, Lai Guiying marched through the village door by door. Guzi's wife. My eldest son's widow is starving. No milk for the baby. The child might die. Spare a couple of eggs, won't you? Even the village chief donated his. Fifth aunt, don't you close that door on me. You talked big earlier. Well, the chief already gave eggs, so surely you can't do less than him. At the butcher Lu's house, she went above and beyond. The man had already reluctantly surrendered a couple of eggs when Lai Guiying spotted a slab of cured pork hanging from the rafters. She grabbed it. Butcher Lu, you kill so many pigs, you need to build up some good karma. Since you've already given eggs, this little piece of cured meat is nothing. I'll take it along. My eldest son is watching from heaven. He'll bless you to sell 2 whole pigs every day. The butcher's face went black. The veins in his neck were bulging. His fists were clenched, so tight his knuckles went white. Through gritted teeth he managed. I send regards to your ancestors. Oh, how sweet. I'll pass that along to them. The old witch grinned and scurried out the door clutching the meat, running like she'd stepped in boiling water. Get out, the butcher roared behind her, but she was already gone. The 3 of them, Lai Guiying, Shi Zhenxiang, and Ma Lianhua, swept through the village like a plague of locusts. They hit every household, taking, begging, pressuring, and flat-out stealing. By the time they circled back home, they had a full basket of eggs and a big slab of cured pork from the butcher. I watched them return from my doorway, barely believing my eyes. I'd set out to cause chaos and force a family split, and instead this shameless old woman had turned my tantrum into a village-wide egg collection drive for herself. I had to hand it to her. I'd seen shameless people before, but Lai Guiying's face was thicker than a fortress wall. She'd been beaten up, cursed out, chased through the streets, and she'd still come home grinning with a basket full of stolen eggs and someone else's meat. My plan had failed again. But as I nursed my baby in that dark little room, I told myself this was only round 2. The war was far from over. While Lai Guiying and her little squad were out terrorizing the village for eggs, I was stuck at home with a screaming baby and an empty stomach. I tried nursing the little one, but there was nothing to give. I hadn't eaten anything since that single bowl of egg soup yesterday, and my body had nothing left to turn into milk. The baby sucked and sucked, got nothing, let go, and started wailing. Oh, stop crying. You're driving me crazy. Cry one more time, and I'll throw you out. I know. Terrible thing to say to a newborn. But I was starving, exhausted, and losing my patience. The strangest thing happened, though. The baby actually stopped crying. She stared at me with those tiny eyes, like she understood every word. Then, after a long moment, her little lip quivered, and she burst into tears again, looking genuinely hurt. My heart melted. I picked her up and let her latch on again. She went through the same cycle, suck, cry, until she finally wore herself out and fell asleep. There were still tears on her tiny face.
Poor little thing.
So small, so hungry, stuck with a family like this. My own stomach was growling so loud it could have woken her. From the night before last until now, all I'd had was 1 bowl of egg soup. I was dizzy and my hands were shaking. The baby was asleep, so I crept out to the kitchen to find food. The kitchen was barely bigger than a closet. A mud stove, a broken cabinet missing half a leg, some firewood and straw by the hearth. Inside the cabinet, a few chipped clay bowls. Nothing else. This family had to have food somewhere. I searched every corner. Nothing. That old witch had locked every scrap of food in her bedroom. Grain, oil, eggs, sugar, all behind her door under her key. Then my eyes drifted across the yard and landed on the chicken coop. An idea sparked. Lai Guiying kept 3 chickens, 1 rooster, and 2 hens. They were scrawny things, barely enough feathers to cover their bones. When I walked over, I found the rooster mounted on 1 hen, busy with his business, while the other hen paced nearby clucking irritably, watching the show with obvious annoyance. A 3rd hen was sitting on a straw nest. When she sensed me coming, she stood up in a fluster and started cackling, that special clucking sound hens make right after laying an egg. I grew up in the countryside. I knew that sound. My heart jumped. I stepped into the coop, chicken droppings and all, and shooed the hen off her nest. There, nestled in the straw, sat 2 beautiful eggs. The old hag had locked up every piece of food in the house, but she'd forgotten that her chickens were still laying. I snatched those eggs and ran to the kitchen. Nobody was home. The old couple was out. The second and third households were either in the fields or chasing Lai Guoying around the village on her egg-robbing spree. I had the place to myself. There was no oil. The old witch had hidden that too, so I couldn't fry them. But I could boil water. I grew up poor in the countryside, and I'd been making fires in clay stoves since I was a kid. This was nothing. I cracked both eggs into boiling water to make poached egg soup, smashed a little ginger, added a pinch of the coarse salt that was the only seasoning left in the kitchen. In less than 15 minutes, I had 2 steaming poached eggs in a bowl of hot broth. Meanwhile, I'd learned what Lai Guoying had been up to. That woman had chased the village chief home, and his wife, confused by her husband's frantic yelling about hiding eggs, had accidentally brought the entire egg basket right out in the open. Lai Guoying snatched it before anyone could react, thanked the chief with a grin, and marched out the door. Then she'd gone on a village-wide rampage. Door after door. She begged, pressured, guilt-tripped, and flat-out stole. She used my dead husband as emotional ammunition, invoked the village chief's name as social pressure, and left no household unvisited. At the butcher's house, she'd not only taken eggs but spotted a slab of cured pork hanging from the ceiling. She grabbed it. The butcher looked ready to commit murder, veins popping on his neck, but the old woman just smiled, thanked his ancestors, and scurried out the door with his meat before he could stop her. By the time the 3 of them, Lai Guoying, Shi Zhenxiang, and Ma Lianhua, came strutting home, they had over 100 eggs split across 3 baskets, plus a big chunk of stolen cured pork. They walked through the village with their chins held high, completely ignoring the disgusted looks and pointed fingers from every neighbor they passed. Lai Guoying was glowing with pride. Of course I'm good at this. You think the name Old Deadbeat came from nowhere? Learn from your mother-in-law, girls. Being nice doesn't fill your belly. Only shamelessness keeps you fed. Shi Zhenxiang immediately started scheming. Mother, that's over 100 eggs. 1 a day, and our Qin can eat for months. Ma Lianhua cut in. Second sister-in-law, you can't give them all to Qin. My children need to eat too. Besides, eggs go bad if you store them too long. After some bickering, Lai Guoying declared that today was a celebration. Everyone got 1 fried egg. Ma Lianhua grinned at Shi Zhenxiang in triumph. She couldn't remember the last time she'd tasted egg. None of them gave a single thought to whether I might need one. Those eggs had been collected in my name, for the widow, for the nursing mother, and not one was coming my way. But it didn't matter, because right now in the kitchen, I had 2 stolen poached eggs all to myself. And they smelled absolutely heavenly. After the egg soup was done, I cleaned the kitchen until it looked exactly like no one had touched it. I stirred the ashes in the stove with water. To kill any remaining embers, tossed the eggshells back into the chicken coop to hide the evidence, then carried my prize back to my room and bolted the door. 2 poached eggs in hot broth. Heaven. I ate half and planned to save the rest for the kids. But my stomach had other ideas. Before I knew it, the bowl was empty. I felt guilty for about 3 seconds, then talked myself out of it. 2 eggs weren't even enough for me, let alone split 5 ways. My body needed fuel to make milk. If I didn't eat, the baby would starve. Simple math. I climbed into bed feeling better than I had since arriving in this world. The bowl could wait for Zheng to wash. I wasn't touching cold water during my recovery month. My mother had drilled that into me when my sister-in-law gave birth back in my old life. Hot water for everything. Even hand washing. Baths with mugwort water. No cold, no strain, no shortcuts. My sister-in-law had followed every rule and recovered beautifully. No lasting problems. That was going to be me. I looked at the tiny creature beside me. Her face was less wrinkled now, a little less ugly than when she first came out. The original Lu Kaiping had died bringing this child into the world. Every time I looked at her, something deep inside me stirred. 28 years old and never had a boyfriend in my previous life. Now I was a mother of 4. I couldn't help but laugh at myself. Outside, I heard voices at the gate. Lai Guiying and her 2 lackeys were back. I crept to the door and peeked through the crack. The 3 of them slipped through the gate like thieves, each carrying a basket, eyes darting toward my door every other step. They scurried into the old woman's room and shut the door behind them. So that's what was in those baskets. Something they didn't want me to know about. I'd figure out what it was eventually, but right now I was too tired to care. Sleep first. Plans later. I drifted off and slept hard until a whimpering sound dragged me back. At first I thought it was a fly buzzing.
I rolled over and nodded.
But the sound got louder. I opened my eyes and nearly jumped out of my skin. Sanya was standing right by my bed, her face swollen and bruised, one eye puffing up, marks across her cheeks. She was crying quietly, trying not to wake me. "Ma, you're finally awake." The moment our eyes met, she broke down sobbing. "I'm not dead yet, so quit the waterworks," I snapped, then immediately felt bad about it. This girl cried more than anyone I'd ever met. But when I raised my hand to scratch an itch on my back, Sanya flinched hard. An automatic reflex, her whole body shrinking away. Because the old Lu Kaiping used to hit her. Every time the original mother got humiliated by Lai Guiying, she'd come home and beat Sanya to let off steam. This poor child had been her punching bag for years, and she still came crawling back every time, desperate for even a crumb of love. I softened my voice. "Who did this to your face? Where are your brothers?" Sanya's eyes went wide with fresh panic. "Ma, big brother and second brother went to beat up Guzi. What happened? Tell me everything." She shrank her shoulders, scared of saying something wrong. "Ma, Guzi and Sanshun and the others said Grandma took their family's eggs. They said it was your fault, that Grandma took the eggs to feed you. Now they don't have eggs anymore, so on my way back from the fields, they caught me and beat me up. Big brother and second brother are fighting them right now, so that's what was in those baskets, eggs." That shameless old woman had gone door to door using my name to extort eggs from the whole village. And now the village kids were taking revenge on my children. My blood boiled. I threw off the blanket and stood up. The baby stirred and started crying. I felt the familiar tightness in my chest. My milk had come in again.
"Good."
I sat back down and nursed her first. "Wait here. Let me feed your sister." Sanya was frantic, but she nodded. "Who exactly are your brothers fighting?" "Guzi, Sanshun, and Ertong." I calmed down a notch. I knew Shuang. That boy was tough, quick, and mean when he needed to be. He'd been defending Sanya from bullies for years and almost never lost. With Sheng backing him up, 3 village kids weren't going to be a problem. My boys could handle themselves. The baby drank greedily. This body was responding well, just 2 servings of egg soup, and my milk was already coming in strong. Feeding this little one wasn't going to be the problem I'd feared. After a few minutes, the baby was full and asleep again. "Sanya, take me to them." Now, the moment I opened my door, the smell of fried eggs hit me like a wave. It was coming from the kitchen. Ma Lianhua was just walking out, and her face froze when she saw me. "Third sister-in-law, what's that delicious smell?" "Smells like eggs to me." "Eggs? Where would we get eggs?" "The last one already went into your stomach." Lai Guiying's voice came from behind me, sharp and defensive. Then she spotted Sanya's bruised face and started scolding. Not the people who'd hurt my daughter, of course, but Sanya herself. This useless girl, always getting into fights. "And where are your brothers?" "I told you all not to cause trouble and ruin the Chen family's good name." I almost laughed. "Good name? Mother-in-law, what good name? Your reputation stinks from here to the next county. You ruined it yourself. And now my daughter gets beaten up because you went around the village stealing people's eggs, using my name as your excuse. That's nonsense." Her eyes flickered. Her voice dropped half a notch. She was guilty and she knew it. "Great, if it's nonsense, then come with me. Let's go ask the villagers face to face who's lying. I'll slap whoever's spreading rumors about you." I grabbed her arm and started dragging her toward the gate. "Let go of me," she struggled, but I was stronger. Old man Chen Quan emerged from his room with a dark face. "Release your mother-in-law immediately, Ma. Hurry. I'm worried about Big Brother." Sanya tugged at my sleeve, her little face tight with fear. She was right. My boys were out there fighting, and I didn't know how bad it was. I let go of the old woman. She dropped straight onto her backside.
Ow.
You vicious snake. Trying to murder your own mother-in-law, Ma Lianhua appeared with her shocked face act. Shi Zhenxiang came running out to play the dutiful daughter-in-law, helping Lai Guiying up off the ground. I didn't have time for their theater. I turned and ran out the gate with Sanya. Near the village ancestral hall, under a crooked tree, a crowd had gathered around a cluster of kids. Several adults were pulling them apart. I pushed through and took stock. Sanshun had a swollen face and blood dripping from his mouth, crying that he was dying. Guzi was curled up on the ground, clutching his stomach. Ertong had a massive bruise around his eye, sobbing about his mother's eggs, 6 of them, saved up for weeks, all snatched by Lai Guiying in one visit. And there was Shuang, face red with fury, fists still swinging at the air, while Zheng held him back with everything he had. Let me go. They hit my sister. I'll kill them. Shuang, calm down. We can't make this worse. Zheng was using all his strength to restrain his brother. Sanchuan's mother, Chen Fenghua, arrived and gasped at her son's battered face. But when she heard the full story, that her boy had beaten up Sanya first over the egg dispute, she actually smacked her own son across the face. Who told you to hit Sanya? The eggs were mine to give. Sanshun stared at his mother in disbelief. You're siding with them? Are you even my mother? Chen Fenghua was a reasonable woman. She knew her son was wrong. But then Guzi's mother showed up, Chu Yuefen's short, stocky, hot-tempered woman built like a brick wall. The second she heard Shuang had beaten her precious Guzi, she charged forward and slapped my son twice across the face before anyone could stop him. Zheng was holding Shuang's arms, so he couldn't even dodge.
Chen Shuang.
I pitied you for losing your father and gave your mother 2 eggs. And this is how you repay me? By beating my son half to death. 10 red finger marks bloomed across Shuang's cheeks. He was shaking with rage. Big brother, let me go. The crowd started murmuring. Some thought Chu Yuefen was wrong. Adults shouldn't hit other people's children over a kid's fight. Others understood her anger. Chen Fenghua got criticized too, but for the opposite reason. People said she was too soft for punishing her own son instead of defending him. Sanshun shot his mother a resentful look. Even strangers thought he'd been wronged, but his own mother had slapped him. Then someone called out, Bingnan's wife is here. The crowd parted for me. Zheng's face tightened with dread. He whispered to Shuang, We're done for. Ma's here. You know what happens, she'll yell at us no matter whose fault it is, then make us apologize. I walked up and scanned the scene. Every other kid was bruised and bleeding. My 2 boys, not a scratch. Well, except for the handprints Chu Yuefen had just put on Shuang's face.
Shuang.
Who hit you? Where did those marks come from? Chu Yuefen puffed up her chest. I did. And I'd do it again. Look what your boy did to my Guzi. Shuang lifted his chin. Her son started it. He beat up my sister first. I didn't say a word. I didn't ask questions. I didn't negotiate. My hand moved and I slapped Chu Yuefen across the face left, right, 2 clean, hard hits that echoed across the clearing. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The whole crowd went completely silent, staring at me with their mouths hanging open. You dare hit me? Chu Yuefen jumped up and lunged, reaching for my hair with her big meaty hand. I almost laughed. She wanted to fight me? Back in my old life, I'd grown up as the oldest sibling in the countryside, constantly defending my younger brothers and sisters from bullies. I'd learned to scrap before I could read. Later, when I started working in the city and had to walk home alone after late shifts, I'd even taken up combat training after a creep followed me one night. My body might be different now, but the muscle memory in my soul hadn't gone anywhere. Her fat hand came swinging toward my head. I shifted my weight, sidestepped it cleanly, grabbed her wrist, and twisted it behind her back. Then left, right, 2 more hard slaps across her face. I hit you because you hit my son. Kids fight. That's their business. You're a grown woman who slapped a child. You deserved every one of those. Ow, ow, ow. Let go. You're breaking my arm. I let go. She stumbled and crashed to the ground in a heap. Hey, you told me to let go. Not my fault you can't stand up straight. Chu Yuefan gaped at me from the dirt. Her son Guzi ran over to help her up, but when he caught my eyes on him, he scrambled behind her like a mouse hiding from a cat. The woman gave up on fighting and switched to her backup strategy, rolling around on the ground wailing for the whole village to hear. She's bullying us. Her boys beat my son, and now she beat me. Is there no justice? I looked down at her calmly. You taught your son badly, and I taught you a lesson. Your Guzi hit my Sanya first. He started it. That's a fact. Then I turned to face the entire crowd. I spoke slowly and clearly, so every word would land. Let me make something clear to everyone here.
I'm Elu Kaiping.
My husband is dead. I have 4 children. We are a widow and orphans. But don't mistake that for weakness. I don't start trouble, but I'm not afraid of it either. Anyone who touches my children will answer to me. The crowd went quiet. People said later that I looked like a completely different person. The old Liu Kaiping had been timid as a quail, head always down, voice always small. This version had eyes that could freeze you where you stood. I had Sanya tell everyone exactly what happened, start to finish. She was nervous at first, stuttering and looking at me sideways, waiting for me to scold her. But when she realized I wasn't angry at her, that I was protecting her, something changed in her posture. She straightened up, took a breath, and told the whole story. Several witnesses backed her up. Guzi had started it. He and 2 other boys, Sanshun and Ertong, had ganged up on Sanya because their family's eggs had been taken by Lai Guiying. It's true, Guzi started it. 3 boys against 1 girl, and the mother hit someone else's child without even asking what happened first. Shameful. With public opinion clearly on my side, Chu Yuefan realized her sobbing act wasn't working. She got up and tried a different approach.
Fine.
But your mother-in-law did take our eggs. That's a fact. My boy wasn't lying. I met her eyes without blinking. The pressure in my gaze made her take half a step back. I didn't know my mother-in-law borrowed your eggs. That's between you and her. But that's a separate matter. Your son should not have beaten up my daughter. Am I wrong? Kids' fights are kids' business. But you, a grown woman, hit my 12-year-old son. That crossed a line. Now, Guzi and Sanshun need to apologize to Sanya. Today, dead silence. Chen Fenghua, Sanshuan's mother, stepped forward first. She was the reasonable one. She pushed her son in front of Sanya and pinched his ear. Say it. Sorry, Sanshun mumbled. Louder. Oh, Sanya, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have hit you. Sanya waved her hands frantically. It's fine. I forgive you. Really? Chen Fenghua bowed her head to me. I'm sorry about this. I didn't raise him well. Don't worry about it, I said. How many eggs did my mother-in-law take from you? I'll make sure she returns them. Chen Fenghua shook her head with a sad smile. Kaiping, I'm not worried about the eggs. I'm worried they'll never reach your stomach. She paused. Forget it. You don't need to return them. I know your situation. She took Sanshuan's hand and left. A decent woman. Chu Yuefan was still standing there, arms crossed, hoping Chen Fenghua would back her up. When she saw the other mother walk away after making her son apologize, her face fell. I turned to her. So? Is Guzi going to apologize, or do I need to visit his schoolteacher? I hear Guzi attends the village school. I wonder what Master Liu would think about one of his students beating up a girl 3 years younger. Maybe Guzi doesn't need to attend school anymore. That did it. Chu Yuefan's eyes went wide with panic. If I made a scene at the school, Guzi might get expelled. She grabbed her son by the ear and shoved him forward. Apologize.
Now.
You've humiliated me enough for one day. She twisted his ear and dragged him away, cursing him the whole way home. Let's go. I turned and started walking. My 3 children fell in behind me like ducklings, not daring to make a sound. The whole way home, I kept my face stern and said nothing. The silence was deliberate. Zheng, Shuang, and Sanya walked with their heads down, barely breathing. Even Shuang, who was usually fearless, kept his mouth shut. What's wrong? Why so quiet? Ma. We're sorry. Zheng spoke first, careful and cautious. He could tell I was upset. You're right, you were wrong. very wrong. Their hearts sink. Here it comes, they thought. The scolding. The punishment. Same as always. Then I said something that nearly knocked them off their feet. Shuang, you're usually so tough. So, why did you just stand there and take it when that woman slapped you? You didn't do anything wrong. Those boys hit your sister first. Why didn't you fight back when the mother hit you? Next time something like this happens, don't just freeze up. Their jaws dropped. All three of them stared at me like I'd grown a second head. Their mother, the woman who used to drag them home by the ear and force them to apologize for breathing, was teaching them how to fight back. The old Lu Kaiping would have screamed at them, blamed them for everything, and made them beg for forgiveness on their knees. This Lu Kaiping was telling them they hadn't fought hard enough. Does it still hurt? I looked at the red handprints on Shuang's face, softening my voice. I'm fine. He shook his head, but I could see the warmth flickering in his eyes. He wasn't used to this, his mother caring about him. It was catching him off guard. Ma, you never used to be like this. He gave me a suspicious look. He was right, and I knew I'd gone too far too fast. The old Lu Kaiping would never have taught her kids to fight back. I needed an explanation, and I needed it fast. When I gave birth to your sister, I nearly died. I saw your father on the other side. I made up a story on the spot, something about the guards of the underworld coming for my soul, and my husband begging them to send me back because the children needed me. They let me go, but warned that if I didn't take proper care of you all, they'd come for me again. Ma, you really saw Papa? Sanya's eyes went wide. I did. I promised him I'd protect you. Sanya started bouncing with excitement. Ma, you were amazing back there. You beat up that fat lady so good. She's hit me before, I just never dared tell you. That last part made my heart clench. This child had been getting bullied and hadn't even felt safe telling her own mother. From now on, if anyone lays a hand on you, you tell me. I'll hit them back for you. And if I'm not around, you've got 2 brothers. Zheng, Shuang, don't let anyone touch your sister. Whatever happens, I'll handle the consequences. Understood. The brothers looked at each other, stunned. Then together. Yes, Ma. They were still half skeptical, but they wanted to believe. And this time they chose to.
Ding.
The system chimed inside my head. Congratulations, host. Based on your recent performance, you have broken free from the original host's cowardly pattern. New function unlocked. The Dirt Poor Marketplace now has products available. A transparent panel appeared before my eyes. There were actually items listed now. My heart nearly burst with excitement. I glanced at the kids. None of them could see it.
Good.
I closed the panel quickly before anyone got suspicious. It was getting dark. Smoke was rising from chimneys across the village. I'd noticed the second and third households busy in the kitchen when I left earlier, so dinner should be ready by now. And my baby was still at home. I didn't even know if she'd woken up. Before we reached the gate, I heard her. She was screaming her lungs out, crying so hard she was choking on her own breath. Ma, baby sister's awake. Sanya broke into a run. The smell hit us as we entered the courtyard, eggs and cured pork. My mouth watered instantly. I knew that smell. Fried eggs and stir-fried cured meat. Back in my old life, cured pork rice was my absolute favorite. It smells so good. Sanya sniffed the air and drool actually dripped down her chin. But the house was eerily quiet. The kitchen was empty. The main hall was empty. Food smells everywhere, not a person in sight. Something was very wrong, or rather, very obvious. They were all hiding in Lai Guiying's room, eating behind closed doors so we wouldn't get any. I could see someone peeking through the crack. Xiang, spying to see if we were back. Time to put on a show. I turned on the kids with a harsh voice, loud enough for the whole house to hear.
Zheng.
You're the eldest. You led your siblings into a fight. No dinner for you tonight. Now go check on your baby sister. Sanya, Shuang. You two are unbelievable. You beat Sanshun so badly his family wants us to pay. Where are we supposed to get that kind of money? The kids stared at me, completely lost. Hadn't I just been praising them 5 minutes ago? Through the door crack, Xiang relaxed and went back to her seat. Don't worry, mother. Shuang and the others got into a fight. Big sister-in-law is furious at them. Sounds like they're in real trouble this time. Lai Guiying rolled her eyes. Who cares about those brats? More importantly, the eggs from the chicken coop are missing. I'll bet that daughter-in-law ate them. I haven't settled that score yet. Once I heard the spy retreat, I winked at my confused children and dropped my voice to a whisper. Zheng, go check on your sister. Shuang, Sanya, sneak over and see what your grandmother and the others are eating in that room. Go. They finally caught on and scattered. I slipped into the kitchen. The stove was still warm, the wok greasy with oil. Inside the firebox, I found eggshells. On the edge of the wok, tiny bits of cured pork. So that's where the village's stolen eggs and the butcher's cured meat had gone. The whole family was feasting behind a locked door while my newborn screamed with hunger in the next room. I went back and nursed the baby. The little one latched on desperately. She'd been crying alone this whole time. Sandhya crept back. Ma. I peeked through the door crack. Second uncle, third uncle, everyone, they're all eating in Grandma's room. They had cured pork. Shuang swallowed hard. I saw it too. Cured pork. His voice went dreamy. I've only ever had one piece in my whole life. Luyan shared a slice with me once. It was so good. The fat melts in your mouth and the lean part gets chewier the more you chew. He trailed off, swallowing again. Go, I told them. All of you, go bang on that door right now. If you wait any longer, they'll eat everything. And remember, if I don't eat, your baby sister doesn't eat either. That was all the motivation they needed. Zheng marched straight to Lai Guiying's door and pounded on it.
Bang, bang, bang.
Grandma, open the door. My mother hasn't eaten anything. She needs food so she can nurse the baby. Inside, I could hear the frantic sounds of chopsticks scraping bowls clean, everyone shoveling the last bites into their mouths as fast as possible. A few moments of rustling and hiding. Then the door swung open. Lai Guiying stood there with a face like thunder. You little brat. Your mother stole 2 eggs from the chicken coop today. She's already stuffed. Don't come begging at my door. Shuang stepped forward without flinching. That's a lie. Where would my mother get eggs? I saw you, all of you eating in there. You're hiding food from us. And we haven't eaten either. Zheng raised his voice. Lai Guiying glared at them. You want food too? Your family eats like starving ghosts. You've practically eaten this household into poverty. There's nothing left. Go hungry. Missing one meal won't kill you. While the kids were dealing with her, I ducked back inside to check my system. I signed in and collected 30 wimp coins, bringing my total to 60. I'd been hoping the daily rewards would keep multiplying, but then I noticed the fine print at the bottom. After the first 3 days, the daily reward drops to just 1 coin per day. 1 measly coin. Wimpbot, your system is pathetic. 60 coins only equals 6 copper coins in real money. And after tomorrow, I'll be earning 1 coin a day? That's less than a beggar makes. The mechanical voice responded flatly. Even a mosquito is still meat. Don't be picky, host. Fine. You're right. Something is better than nothing. But then I checked the marketplace, and things were looking up. Products had actually appeared. Basic categories: grain, oil, and seasonings. There was rice, wheat flour, and dark flour. Rice was 30 copper coins per caddy, flour was 15 and the cheapest option, dark flour, was 10 per caddy. With my 6 coins, I could buy over half a caddy. And the prices were actually cheaper than what they charged in town. The seasoning section was surprisingly well stocked: soy sauce, vinegar, 5-spice powder, star anise, pepper, and more. But they were expensive. A bottle of soy sauce cost more than a caddy of rice. The spice packets were dozens of coins for tiny amounts. Salt was the real bargain. 2 coins per bag of fine salt, the same quality as modern table salt. In this era, salt was controlled by the government and cost dozens of coins per caddy, with purchase limits. 2 coins for a bag was a steal. I couldn't afford much else, but salt was useful. I filed that away. Lai Guiying was still out there cursing at my children. I'd had enough. I put the baby down and marched out. Lai Guiying, don't think I don't know what you did. You went around the entire village begging for eggs, using my name as your excuse. Her eyes bulged when I called her by name instead of mother. She screamed that she'd rip the mouth off anyone who said such things. I laughed coldly. The whole village watched you do it. Every single household. You think you can tear off that many mouths? There are enough witnesses to drown you in spit. Then I pushed past her, stormed straight into her room, and started searching. I flipped the table, opened every cabinet, and there they were, 3 baskets of eggs, hidden away like buried treasure. What's this then? Give those back. The old witch lunged for them.
Ding.
The transparent panel appeared again, and the camera auto-focused on the eggs. Detected, free-range village eggs. Total weight, 9 caddies, 6 tails. Buyback price, 10 copper coins per caddy. Confirmed to sell. My heart nearly stopped. The marketplace could buy things for me too? This changed everything. I glanced around, nobody else could see the panel.
Good.
Old man Chen Quan stepped forward, veins popping on his forehead. You've lost your mind. Hand those eggs over immediately. I stared right back at him without flinching. Father-in-law, my husband is dead. You took his pension money. You collected eggs from the whole village pretending they were for me. And you won't give us a single one. Not even one. The old man's face contorted. Your husband wasn't my blood. I raised him, found him a wife, fed his brats. That's more than he deserved. Then Qin Qing, that spoiled 12-year-old, smirked at Shuang from behind his grandmother. My mother says you're all bastards. Bastards don't deserve eggs. Something in Shuang snapped. Of all the insults, all the bullying, all the years of being treated like dirt, being called a bastard was the one thing he could never stomach. And Qin Qing knew it. He used that word every chance he got. But Shuang wasn't the old Shuang anymore. His mother had taught him to fight back. He didn't need to hold it in any longer. His fist shot forward and connected square with Qin Qing's face. Ow. Qin Qing clutched his mouth, eyes wide with shock. Blood seeped between his fingers. You actually hit me. Shuang raised his fist again. I did. Want more? Blood. There's blood. Mama. Shizhen Xiang went berserk. Her precious firstborn, her future government official, was bleeding. She screamed at her husband to do something. Chen Bingxing kicked at Shuang, but my boy dodged it. Shizhen Xiang charged at herself, claws out, going for Shuang's face. Zheng jumped between them and shoved her back. Ma Lianhua stood in the corner watching it all, with barely concealed delight. My boys were tough, but they were still children fighting 2 adults. They were going to lose. I grabbed the basket of eggs, all 100+ of them, raised it high over my head, and screamed at the top of my lungs. Everybody stop. One more move and I smash every single egg on the ground. The room froze. Every pair of eyes locked onto those eggs hovering in the air. Over 100 eggs, the old woman's entire haul from her village-wide robbery, about to become a wet mess on the floor. Nobody dared breathe. Lai Guiying's wrinkled face crumpled like a crushed paper bag the moment she saw those eggs in the air. Her voice instantly went soft. Daughter-in-law, let's talk this over. Talk? If talking worked, would we be, at this point? Your son and daughter-in-law just attacked my children over some eggs. You know what? Let me just smash them all, then nobody fights. I raised the basket higher. The old witch nearly fainted. Ma Lianhua rushed forward with her fakest smile. Sister-in-law, kids are tough. A few slaps won't hurt them. Don't waste all those eggs over something so small. I shot her a look that wiped the smile right off. Third sister-in-law, let someone beat your son and see if you still call it small. These eggs aren't going in my stomach anyway. Might as well break them. Her frozen grin looked worse than crying. Then I turned to her son, little Chunin, who still had grease glistening on his lips. Chunin, was tonight's egg tasty? The 7-year-old puffed up proudly.
So tasty.
Mama fried us all poached eggs. 1 each. And Grandma said these eggs are only for me and big cousin. None for you. Ma Lianhua smacked his backside. Shut your mouth. But Mama, I didn't say anything wrong. Well, since these eggs will never reach my stomach anyway, I grabbed 1 egg and hurled it at the floor. It exploded, yolk and white splattering everywhere. My eggs. Lai Guiying wailed like I'd stabbed her. She immediately screamed at Ma Lianhua to grab a bowl and scoop up the mess. Wash it off, and we can still eat it. Then she forced a smile so painful it looked like her face was tearing apart. Daughter-in-law, don't listen to that boy. I was saving these eggs for you. Really? I smiled right back. Perfect. Since these eggs are for me, I'll take them to my room. Zheng can cook them for me every day. No need to trouble you at all, mother-in-law. Zheng,
Shuang.
grab the eggs. We're going to our room. Old man Chen Quan's veins looked ready to burst. He turned on Lai Guiying and cursed her out. You and your stupid mouth. If you can't say the right thing, don't open it. Then he tried a different approach with me, calm, reasonable, threatening. Daughter-in-law, a woman should respect her elders. These eggs were collected by your mother-in-law. By rights, we deserve a share. If you take them all, I'll report you to the village chief. I laughed. Please do. Better yet, take it to the county magistrate. Let's tell him how you swallowed your dead son's pension money and won't even feed his widow after childbirth. I'd love to hear his ruling. His tone softened instantly. How about we split them? Half and half. No. Not negotiable. Shi Zhenxiang lost it completely and charged at me, shrieking that those eggs belonged to her Qingqing. I sidestepped, swept my foot under hers, and she ate dirt face first. I herded the kids into our room and slammed the door shut. Shi Zhenxiang pounded on it from outside, screaming about her eggs. The door shook with each blow. Zheng looked worried. Ma, she's going to break the door. That door is sturdier than it looks. Forget her. I counted the eggs. 102. I needed to know the exact number, so I could return them to their rightful owners someday. I'd have my boys go around the village tomorrow to find out who gave what. Sanya stared at the mountain of eggs with eyes as wide as the moon. She swallowed hard, imagining the taste. Zheng raised the practical concern. Ma, we got the eggs, but Grandma is furious. We can't stay locked in this room forever. We have to go out sometime, and we'll need the kitchen to cook them. What's the plan? He was right. I'd been thinking the same thing. Then a thought crossed my mind. In every transmigration novel I'd read, the heroines always got a magical storage space. Where was mine?
Ding.
Host's spatial storage needs have been detected. The system now offers cloud space packages. A 1-meter space costs 1,000 copper coins for lifetime access. 2 meters costs 2,000 and so on. Upgrades and hidden features can be unlocked later. I nearly choked. 1,000 coins for a tiny box. You crook. 1,000 coins for a space the size of a coffin? Why don't you just rob me? I didn't have a single real coin to my name. Just 60 wimp coins worth 6 copper pieces. Host, the dirt poor marketplace supports both credit accounts and installment payments. My jaw dropped. A credit system? Like a medieval version of a buy now pay later app? This garbage system was actually more modern than I'd expected. I went big. If I was going into debt anyway, might as well get something useful. I took the 3-meter space on credit. I could upgrade later when I had money. Ma, what did you just say? I didn't catch it. Zheng was looking at me strangely. I'd been muttering to myself. Nothing. Never mind. The pounding on the door woke the baby, and she started wailing. Sanya scooped her up and tried to calm her down. Zhang, Shuang, while it's still light, go around the village. Find out exactly how many eggs Grandma took from each family. We need to know so we can pay people back later. Got it. The moment they stood up and turned away, I moved fast. Using nothing but my thoughts, I willed every single egg into my new storage space. All 102 vanished from the baskets in an instant. Gone. Like they'd never existed. I tested it with one more egg, holding it in my palm. I thought store, and it disappeared from my hand. I thought retrieve, and it was back, solid and warm between my fingers. A grin spread across my face that I couldn't have hidden if I'd tried. Now we were getting somewhere. A wild idea hit me. In all those transmigration novels I'd read, the heroines didn't just get storage spaces. They got spaces with magical spring water, rich black soil, even entire farms inside. Could I actually go inside mine? But first things first. While Shi Zhenxiang was still pounding on the door and cursing, I quietly moved all the eggs into my space when nobody was looking. Ma Lianhua tried peeking through the door crack and came face to face with Shuang's eyeballs staring back, scare herself half to death. Eventually, old man Chen Quan ordered his sons and daughters-in-law to stand guard outside our door all night. He was convinced we'd have to come out eventually, and when we did, they'd grab the eggs. Through the crack, Shuang watched them positioning themselves. He and Zheng didn't dare open the door. "What are you two standing around for? Get moving before dark," I told them, but then realized they were right to be cautious. I changed my plan. "Forget it.
Tomorrow.
For now, everyone to bed. We'll go hungry tonight." "Ma." "Where did the eggs go?" Sanya suddenly noticed the baskets were empty. "I hid them somewhere safe. Trust me, your grandmother will never find them." Everyone climbed into bed hungry. I nursed the baby until she was full, then lay down myself. I waited, listening to the room fill with the steady breathing of sleeping children. When I was sure they were all out, I sat up. Moonlight trickled through the small window. I opened the transparent panel. Its glow was soft and clear in the darkness, like a phone screen. "Enter," I thought. I closed my eyes. When I opened them again, I was somewhere else entirely. The space was small, about 3 meters across, and strangely lit. There were no visible lights, but I could see everything clearly, as if it were daytime. No magical soil, no spirit spring, no lush garden. Just a plain room with my 100-odd eggs sitting on the floor. I was disappointed. My space was nothing like the ones in novels. It was literally just a storage closet. But then I noticed something. I'd been standing inside for a while, and I wasn't suffocating. The air felt fresh, even slightly cool. There was some kind of air circulation built in. And if air could circulate, maybe the space had a preservation function too. Maybe I could even cook in here. I looked at the eggs and considered selling some to the marketplace. The system scanned them automatically. 1 basket of eggs, 3 catties, 6 tails, buyback price 36 copper coins. 36 coins for an entire basket? That was pitiful. I'd rather eat them myself. Nothing else to discover, so I came back out. My stomach was growling fiercely. I crept out of bed, wrapped myself in the ragged cotton jacket, and tiptoed to the door. Through the crack, pitch black, couldn't see a thing. I eased the door open just a sliver, and a blast of cold air hit me. Then I nearly jumped out of my skin. Chun Bingsheng was right there, sitting on a stool against the wall next to my door, curled up like a shrimp, fast asleep, snoring away. Old man Chen Quan's guard dog had fallen asleep on duty. I crept past him to the kitchen without making a sound. But then I thought, if I cooked out here, the noise and smell would wake everyone up. That's when the brilliant idea struck me. What if I brought everything into the space and cooked inside? I grabbed the clay pot, some firewood, a bucket of water, and 2 mud bricks to prop the pot on. I even snatched the last scrapings of lard from Lai Guiying's precious oil jar. Everything vanished into my space with a thought. Inside, I stacked the bricks, set the pot on top, and struck the flint. The kindling caught fire instantly, which proved once and for all that the space had real air flowing through it. I was grinning so hard my face hurt. This was it. My space wasn't just storage, it was my personal, invisible, portable kitchen. I could cook anything, anytime, anywhere, and nobody on the outside would see, hear, or smell a thing. Once the pot was hot, I scraped in some lard, cracked 5 eggs, bought a packet of fine salt from the marketplace for 2 wimp coins, and fried those eggs golden on both sides. Then I added water and let the whole thing simmer until the broth turned creamy white. 5-egg soup. Rich, hot, nourishing. No smoke, no smell leaking out, no suffocating heat. The space's air circulation handled everything perfectly. I ate every last drop, feeling strength flow back into my tired body. Then I made a decision. I went back out one more time and hauled everything useful from the kitchen into my space. Every pot, every bowl, every utensil. If I was going to spend my recovery month hiding in my room, I'd need a fully equipped kitchen in my pocket. This space was going to change everything. I crept back to our door. Chun Bingsheng was still slumped against the wall, dead asleep, smacking his lips like he was dreaming about food. I slipped inside and eased the door shut, but it made a small sound. Bingsheng's eyes snapped open. He glanced around, saw the door was closed and nothing looked different, pulled his jacket tighter, and went right back to sleep. I almost burst out laughing. This felt like being a thief, and honestly, it was thrilling. I pulled the egg soup out of my space, 5 eggs worth, already cooked, and divided it into 4 bowls. Then I shook my children awake. Get up. All of you. Now. Zheng rubbed his eyes. Ma, what's happening? Is something wrong? Something good? Sanya looked heartbroken. Ma, I was dreaming about food. I was just about to eat and you woke me up. Then she froze. Her nose twitched. Her eyes flew open. It smells like eggs. I made egg soup. Eat. In the pale moonlight, they stared at the 4 bowls sitting on the broken cabinet like they were looking at a miracle. Nobody moved. Eat before it gets cold. I picked up my bowl and started drinking. These farm eggs were nothing like the factory ones from my old life. No chemicals, no shortcuts. Just pure, rich flavor. A pinch of salt was all they needed. The broth was sweet and savory, and on a freezing winter night, every mouthful sent warmth spreading through my whole body. Seeing me drink, the kids finally believed it was real. They grabbed their bowls. Ma, this is so delicious. This is exactly the taste. Sanya's eyes were filling with tears. In her entire conscious life, she'd never eaten a whole egg. The closest she'd ever come was scraping a tiny crumb of leftover egg from her cousin Qing's bowl. She'd remembered that taste for years. Like it? When I make money, we won't just eat eggs. We'll have meat, white rice, and wheat buns at every meal. Really? That would be amazing. Sure. Keep it down, Shuang hissed. Sanya stuck out her tongue, embarrassed. I finished my bowl and let out a satisfied belch. My stomach was full, but my mouth still wanted more. It was the lack of real food, rice, something solid. I'd been in this body for 2 days and hadn't eaten a single grain of rice. All I wanted in the world was a heaping bowl of steaming white rice with thick slabs of braised pork belly. 5 layers of fat and lean, glazed in dark sauce. I swallowed hard and pushed the fantasy away. Leave the bowls. We'll wash them later. Everyone back to sleep. Just as I was lying down, Shuang asked, Ma, where did you cook this? How? The kitchen, obviously. Your grandmother and everyone else were asleep. I snuck in and cooked it. Don't worry, as long as I'm here, none of you will go hungry. And once we split from this family, we'll eat well every single day. The word, split again. I'd said it so many times now, and each time their eyes lit up a little brighter. Before, they wouldn't have dared dream of it. Now they were starting to believe.
Bang, bang, bang.
I woke to pounding on the door at first light, accompanied by Lai Guiying's shrieking. Open this door. Where is our cooking pot? Did you steal it? And the bowls? And the oil? Everything in the kitchen is gone. Was it you? Shuang looked at me with wide eyes. Ma, you took the pot too. Of course. No pot means they can't cook either. Besides, we'll need it when we split off. His jaw dropped. Then a slow grin spread across his face. This was beyond anything the old mother would have done. He loved it. What had happened was this. Lai Guiying had woken before dawn, anxious about the eggs, and gone straight to the kitchen to check if I'd snuck in during the night. What she found was an empty kitchen. The pot was gone. The bowls were gone. Even the last scraping of lard had vanished. She'd stormed over to our door and found Bingxing still asleep on his guard duty stool. She slapped him awake, cursing him for sleeping like a pig while the whole kitchen was robbed clean. Bingxing was bewildered. Ma, I was awake all night. I only just dozed off at dawn. Then how is everything gone? Even the cooking pot. The second and third households scrambled out of bed. Soon the whole family was at our door, banging and shaking it until it rattled on its hinges. Sanya was trembling beside me.
Ma, what do vedo?
You took the eggs and the pot. If they break through, they'll kill us. I smiled. I'm here. What's there to be afraid of? The baby woke up crying from all the noise. I picked her up, changed her wet cloth diaper, washed my hands, and started nursing. The timing was perfect. My breasts were swollen and aching from the overnight buildup. After a few days of egg soup, my milk was flowing strong. So strong that the little one couldn't swallow fast enough, and milk dribbled from the corners of her mouth. I was grateful for this body. The original Lu Kaiping might have been weak and malnourished, but her milk production was excellent. Without that, this tiny premature baby would have had no chance. The baby drank her fill and fell back asleep, content and peaceful. Outside, The cursing hadn't stopped. Every foul word in the old woman's vocabulary was being hurled at our door, without pause. My patience finally ran out. I threw off the blanket and got out of bed.